Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air. Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun.
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
And welcome into the Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody is doing well. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
Doing all right. Long day Thursday. Long day. Probably longer for other people named Joe than this Joe, but
Probably so.
Probably.
We'll get into that coming up here in just a few minutes. Nick Keyser, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had a volleyball game last night down at Centennial. I am sore, but I'm doing well.
Volleyball? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Volleyball, yes. Have to stay active.
So you're doing hockey and volleyball.
Correct, yes.
It's impressive.
Player, coach, GM also does volleyball.
Yeah, I don't know too many hockey and volleyball players. You more crushing at the net, or you a setter?
More of a setter.
Okay.
There we go.
I can see that.
I didn't know that. Way to go, Nick.
Facilitator.
Executive producer, the reporter, and big volleyball guy.
I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And not the one that my intern Brandon is wearing currently, but I know he's very happy about his quote-unquote Redskins getting a new owner for the first time since '99.
Well, they're not called that anymore, but yes.
I know they're not called that anymore, but you never know what they could be called moving forward, so we'll see.
It's true.
We'll see what happens on that front. So, Joe, tell us what you did yesterday at SEC Media Days.
Yeah, so let's see. Basically, how many straight hours did he have to do?
He sounds horrible.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, how's that?
It's a little bit better. There we go.
Well, what's wrong with me? How did I forget about the milky smooth microphone?
don't
My
know.
goodness.
I was wondering
why you
sounded like that.
sounded like that.
Yeah. So, yes, yesterday I got to spend basically 5 straight hours with Joe Milton, and Tennessee and Joe granted me the access to hang out with him, and I tell you, it was beyond just the we can make a lot of jokes about me harassing Joe Milton, which I'm sure he made some jokes on the flight home too, but beyond that, I will say just independent of him, man, 5 hours of that, when you go see it like that and see every single room and understand the repetition involved, and maybe it's more with him than others because all anyone ever freaking asks a guy is how far he can throw a dang orange or a baseball or a football or I mean, it's just it's just 5 straight hours of well, Joe, how about that arm? How far can you throw a football? It's incredible. So maybe it's a little more extreme with him, but I think even with anyone, you get a little bit better appreciation for, I mean, I know it's just sitting around talking, okay? So I know someone out there is rolling their eyes like, yeah, oh, it's so exhausting. But, man, 5 straight hours, and it's just the same questions over and over and over and over. Walk to this or walk to that or walk to this, And so if anything, it made me want to be a little bit better of a question asker moving forward. I'm not saying I will be, but I'd like to be.
That's good. I did see Joe Milton at some point yesterday, and I can't remember where it was. It may have been Sirius Radio with College Sirius XM Radio, where he talked about apparently he can throw the ball 90 yards. So we did learn that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was Cole Kublik who was kind of pressing. I mean, there's so many different ways of asking him, but basically the stock answer that he gave, and it started with Rick Neuheisel in one of the CBS rooms, is like, I don't know, and I don't want to know. So he confirmed that like there was a 9 in front of it.
Yeah.
But like he's like, I don't know my max because I don't want to set limit. The minute I say, I can throw it X number of yards, I'm not going to throw it any farther. It's an interesting. He's like, it's just a mindset thing. So, okay, hey man, you do you. And one day when you uncork 163 yards, then we'll know that you didn't put limits on yourself.
Well, it made me really think about the possibility of, before maybe halftime this year when Tennessee gets the ball on their own 3, just run the Hail Mary. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if the receivers can get down there in time, but just give it a shot.
I'm totally serious about this. It has to be. So it has to be like it could be the Virginia. It has to be a game that they're winning big, okay? Because what a coach won't do is like, yeah, okay, he can throw far, but Heupel would say, yeah, but see, if he gets sacked at like our own 15, that's such an easier score for them, right? Like, but if they're up 28-0 at the half, he's going to end up sitting the second half anyway, and they're like at their own 20. You seriously call the Hail Mary. Like you real. In fact, like I would feel probably better about calling a Hail Mary with him at like the 30, my own 35, than like the 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's going to throw it out of the back of the end zone at the 50.
Right. So no, I mean, I really think that if the right situation arises, they need to give the people what they want.
He is so intriguing, not only just from the Tennessee perspective of what he's going to be, but when you think about the entirety of the SEC as a whole, Joe, and we went through the quarterbacks the other day, whether it's Jaden Daniels or KJ Jefferson, or you look around the league, like what's Alabama going to do at quarterback? There's a lot of really intriguing questions at quarterback this year, but just the Joe Milton angle of this and what he could be. I heard some people talking yesterday, and they were discussing this on the SEC network too. I mean, we've seen Joe Milton be a starting quarterback before, and it didn't go overly well. Now, that was a long time ago when he was a starting quarterback at Michigan, and he played pretty well in his 2 starting chances last year against Vanderbilt and then against Clemson in the Orange Bowl. But, I mean, everybody could see the talent. They were talking about the idea of him maybe being a top 10 pick yesterday on the SEC network. So everybody could see it. I mean, it's the talent is there. He is so intriguing to me, not only just from the Tennessee perspective, but league-wide heading into this year, exactly to how important he is to their success.
I agree. It's one of the story. I think it's one of the stories in college football, and it's a fascinating story because obviously it's an anti-portal story. I mean, we talked about this a lot as it unfolded when we all just kind of expected, okay, where's Joe Milton going to end up after 21, and he's stuck there. I think a lot of the whole story is Hendon Hooker, his relationship with Hendon Hooker.
Right.
I think that's a huge part of why he stayed. But it's also, the fact that Josh Heupel brought Joe Milton in to be his quarterback. Hendon Hooker was there pre-existing, courtesy of Jeremy Pruitt. Why did Hooker even stay? I still go back to that, and I know he's been, probably asked him that, and a million other people have too. But it's like you see the new staff bringing in this dude, right? You see what this dude can do physically. Oh, he just beat you out too, but Hooker stuck around to become, honestly, one of the best quarterbacks in Tennessee history. I mean that really is true. So, and then Milton sticks around. I mean, the whole thing is in the early stages of the Josh Heupel tenure is a very unique story and a very surprising story given the circumstances of college football right now. And to your point, now it's I've said it, I'll say it a million times between now and the draft, I'm sure, but like I can see such a wide range for him. And I wanted yesterday to kind of, just see how he's like handling everything. I got to say, I mean, the guy is cool as a cucumber, I mean, he's like, he was making some jokes. He and Sean Barrows, the UT spokesman who was walking around with him, in between, like, let's talk about the arm a little bit, but he never once got short with anyone. He answered it every time, and he handled the whole thing great. It was actually really impressive to watch what he did yesterday. Doesn't guarantee anything this year, but we've talked about this before too. He was a leader last year, and this team 100% rallies around him. He has in some ways, and I think this is also part of why he won the job, not the main reason, but he has a little bit more of a magnetism and kind of natural take over a team personality than Hendon Hooker does. So it's seamless in that way. And I think he said yesterday he has like special handshakes right now for 85% of the team. He's trying to get to the whole roster. He's cut some weight. He's about 235. I think that's probably a good idea. He needs to be a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker starter when he needs to escape the pocket. So it's all lining up for him, and it's going to be fascinating, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out.
So you spent a whole day with Joe Milton yesterday. Is he going like NWI restraining order on you, or we think we're good moving forward?
He was very nice to me. There actually the one time, because it's just this constant walking between rooms. Most of the day, for people who don't know at SEC Media Days, the coaches and players are away from the main media. They are in restricted areas. Most of the time they spend is with broadcast partners doing like all these goofy, okay, Joe, now say, you had one job, for game day. Okay, Joe, now say, not so fast, my friend. It's just like sitting there all day. Coming up back on the SEC network, Joe. Come on, Joe. He's like, okay, do the Superman thing. Do the, impersonate Josh Heupel. I don't know why I keep using that voice, but, they're away from the main media. The main media areas are the times where they get nervous. The SIDs get nervous. Like, here come the questions. Be careful. But he was very cool to me. And there was one time though I was walking so close to him, and we were walking right by Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, and then Joe like stopped for a minute, and then he like stepped on my foot and almost fell, and I had to like grab him, and Caroline just lost it. She was laughing so hard.
Just taking out Tennessee's quarterback. It's good stuff.
I'm just sitting there. I got to walk so close to him. Wait, Joe. It's like, yeah. So, hey, I don't know. I'm sure on the flight I was like, who the heck was that loser? But he was cool to me.
We're off and running today on Robby and Rexrode. We got a lot to get to on the program here today. Jared Stillman will join us at 7 o'clock. Teron Davenport at 8 o'clock. We'll take your thoughts all show long. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get into a little bit of Josh Heupel, what he had to say yesterday. And I got a question for Joe about this Tennessee team and what this could all mean for Josh Heupel. We'll get into all that next as well. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never abandons its commitment to free expression. Because FIRE believes that free speech makes free people. Join the free speech movement at thefire.org. Paid for by thefire.org.
The Sounds take the field tonight at 6:35 against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Kick your weekend off relaxing with Sounds baseball. Gates open at 5:30, but stick around for the whole game to enjoy a post-game fireworks show. $10 tickets available now at NashvilleSounds.com.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself, or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See? We didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Besides wins on the football field, what's a goal or goals for you as a head coach at the University of Tennessee?
Standard at Tennessee is to win championships. It's pretty clear. I think we're top 10 in the history of college football in wins, first-round draft picks. Bowls, bowl wins. The standard is to compete at the highest level and win championships. For us, that starts in the Eastern Division, which everybody knows that there's a lot of good football that's played in that division.
That was Josh Heupel, Tennessee head coach, yesterday at SEC Media Days, the final day of SEC Media Days. And, Joe, I got to say, it was kind of a slow week in terms of stuff you typically see at SEC Media Days. Some talkabouts, some coaches, all that stuff. But really yesterday, I thought the media kicked it into high gear. A lot of talkabouts. Coach with Josh Heupel yesterday. You had Lane Kiffin, people making jokes to him, apparently that they look like him yesterday. A little bit more in the SEC Media Days flair yesterday. I enjoyed it.
And Lane Kiffin, he'll take crap every time for this, but I will say I always appreciate his pressers because he doesn't GAF and he says what he and look, whether you agree with him or not or partially or whatever, like he at least isn't afraid to call out the current conditions of college football. So I thought his presser was good. It was really interesting. I don't think he talked about his team one time, right?
Not much. There's a whole lot of NIL. So. The first question he got at the podium yesterday was about Tennessee and their punishment from the NCAA. And his quote was, well, that didn't take very long. It was pretty good from Lane Kiffin yesterday.
He's like, good for them, I guess. Yeah, sure they're happy. Yeah.
It's pretty much what he said. Heupel yesterday, a lot of the conversation was around the investigation and moving on from that. Obviously, he talked a lot about Joe Milton. He did say that Tennessee was the real UT in the right shade of orange yesterday.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, little shade thrown from Josh Heupel yesterday. I enjoyed that. But other than that, not a whole lot from Heupel on that standpoint yesterday. But I got to thinking yesterday, and I watched a lot of SEC Network coverage yesterday. I was listening to Caroline Willie and D-Mace kind of talk about this too, in terms of the importance of this year for Josh Heupel from a program standpoint. You had the great year, the breakthrough year last year. You win 11 games, you win the Orange Bowl, and you put Tennessee football really back on the map. And the recruiting's going well. We've talked about all that. But how important is the bottom line this year, the win-loss record for Heupel this year in terms of establishing that this is what this program is? It wasn't just some really good team last year that was a flash in the pan, but this is what the program is as they're moving forward. And look, I'll give Heupel credit, Joe. Like, he didn't really shy away from the expectation part of it yesterday. He mentioned in that clip we just played, the expectation in Tennessee is to win championships. I mean, he said it in part of his opening statement that they fell short of some of their goals last year when they won 11 games for the first time in 2 decades. How important is this year in terms of establishing that last year wasn't just a fluke and it's where this program is now headed under Josh Heupel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to maintain momentum. Now, I think the guy we've been talking about already on this show has to enter into that conversation. So if you play it out, and let's say it's just like, look, man, Joe Milton, incredible arm, athlete, and all that stuff, whether it's can't stay healthy or just can't quite put it together, and let's say they have, like a 7-5 year, which would be very disappointing for Tennessee fans. There's so much hype around this team. There's so much momentum and excitement. Well, if that's the case and it's about that, and look, dependent on great quarterback play, right?
Yep.
I just don't. I don't think we're going to have a year coming up where it's like Alabama in some of those years where it's like, well, they got the game manager, but my gosh, 9 first rounders on that defense are giving up 9.2 points a game. That's not going to happen. It's going to be, I think, very quarterback dependent. So all of which is to say, like, if it were to happen, you could look at it and say, well, Nico's a freshman and it was Joe's year and it just didn't work out for Joe. And next year, I don't think like recruiting is going to fall off the table. And I don't think there's going to be that much less excitement about what they could be next year with Nico. Now, if they go 7-5, there's probably some other parts of the team that aren't as good as you hope this year too. So I'm not saying there's no effect or that it's not important. It's important. I do think this is a little bit of one of those, just kind of like a one-off year because of the quarterback position. And I don't think it would be disastrous or anything if they fell off. It'd be very disappointing because Tennessee fans right now expect them to compete for the East. And look, the players weren't shying away from that yesterday either. Joe got asked a lot about Georgia. Didn't really bite, but he did say win the East at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly what their thought process is going to be heading into the year. I just look at it, and I'm not even saying that they've got to match the 11 wins that they had a year ago when you factor in the bowl game too. I'm just saying from a program standpoint, we've seen a lot of teams have a great year, right? Like you can have a great year, but can you be a team that's consistent year in, year out, where you're flirting with 9, 10, 11 wins on a yearly basis if you're Tennessee? And I don't know yet. Like they had a great year last year. Can they follow that up and be a team that every year is competing for the SEC East and every year is flirting with double-digit wins? I think that's what we're getting ready to find out. And again, if they don't do it this year, it doesn't mean that they can't come back to next year and be right back in that spot. But that's what separates some of the elite programs from the teams that are really good, is the consistency of putting those seasons together every year. And that's what we don't yet know about Josh Heupel in Tennessee.
One thing I will correct there, they will not be competing for the SEC East after this year.
Well, that is true.
Thank goodness.
No more.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's let's say it again. I mean, it's only been 2 years. It's been 2 really impressive years, but that does happen sometimes. I mean, there are plenty of programs where coaches have a hot start, and then it turns out to be a little bit of fool's gold. I don't think that's the case here, but man, hey, we've been talking. One thing that Joe got yesterday, especially from Marty Smith, a lot of Big Ten talk, a lot of asking about the Big Ten, about Michigan and stuff like that. Hey, go to Michigan State. I mean, year 2 was unbelievable for Mel Tucker, right?
Yeah.
He also had like one of the best football players in the country running the football. Running backs, they help you sometimes.
They do.
And I don't know, that doesn't look so hot right now, it's a different situation. Tennessee's recruiting at a super high level, and but I'm just saying there's an example of a program that looked like something after 2 years, and then the third year is like, what's going on here? Again, I don't think that's going to happen with Tennessee this year. But I would say, like, if you get to 9 this year, you get to 9-3, again, that would still be disappointing. You're not really competing for the East. You have to be darn near perfect to hang with Georgia and its freaking schedule. But to me, if you get 9, that's still a good year. You got to keep it in perspective. I mean, that would mean 27 wins, and we haven't even gotten to the bowl game, so it could be 28 in the first 3 years for Josh Heupel, considering what he took over.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, the program trajectory is in a great spot. And look, they added to that the other day. They got Mike Matthews, 5-star recruit out of Georgia, and he selected Tennessee over Georgia and over Clemson and over USC. That's a huge recruiting win for Tennessee and the Volunteers the other day. We were talking last week about, when is Tennessee going to land that 5-star wide receiver, and here we are a week later, and they've done it at this point. So a lot of positive momentum for Josh Heupel and this team. I do think in terms of recruiting moving forward, and we've even had people the last couple of days on the text line talk about this, of maybe we're not giving Hendon Hooker enough credit for just how special he was, and that things could be, falling back to earth a little bit this year for Tennessee. Like, if they go out there this year and they do win 9 games or they do win 10 games and Joe Milton looks really good, I think that's pretty big for Josh Heupel moving forward, because the conversation starts to become more of, well, Josh Heupel knows what he's doing offensively, and this is a really quarterback-friendly system, and I think that helps Tennessee moving forward from a recruiting standpoint, even though they already have a ton of momentum there, like I said, anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and if that's the case, then there's a second straight quarterback. There's 2 for 2 for him in terms of didn't work out, at another prominent program in college football, kind of just put on the scrap heap, and then Josh Heupel takes that quarterback and look what happens. There's still the NFL discussion too, right? But
yep.
The system, the NFL, and all that stuff. But yeah, that would be quite significant for Tennessee to be able to do that. And again, then that Nico's coming and they continue to recruit well at that position. I mean, they're gonna, if they're gonna compete for championships and be right there for playoff bids, they're going to have great quarterback play in any given year. I mean, it's an absolute must.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. How important is this season for Tennessee in terms of what their program is and where their program is going? We'll take your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. More coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Training camp is coming.
Go Tigers on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Follow along as the Two-Tone Blue gets set for another season.
And really excited about where this is going to go.
New faces.
DeAndre Hopkins to the Titans.
Kentucky product Will Levis.
A new offense.
Yeah, scared guard.
What will it all mean? Training camp coverage is presented by the Simmons Bank Open and by Parman Energy on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car. Why sell your car at WeBuyAnyCar.com? Because when you trade in, you're dealing with a dealer. And sure, they're interested in a good deal. For them, not for you. Come to WeBuyAnyCar.com instead. All we do is buy cars. You get in, get out, and get paid at a fair price. So don't take chances with a trade-in. Go to WeBuyAnyCar.com for a free online valuation.
Find out how much your car's worth at WeBuyAnyCar.
There are ordinary hotels, and there's the Four Seasons. There are ordinary cars, and there's the Rolls-Royce. There are ordinary handbags, and there's Gucci. There are ordinary engagement rings, and there's Genesis. A Genesis diamond ring is unlike any other. Artistic, innovative design, handcrafted precision, exceptional detail and quality. This is why people who work at other jewelers come to Genesis for their rings. A Genesis ring is considered the gold standard in bridal, with no compromises, no cut corners, nothing short of perfection. We have the look, the style every woman dreams about. At Genesis, you'll find dozens of exclusive world-class bridal designers who are revered for their attention to detail, exceptional vision, and superior craftsmanship. A Genesis ring rises to the occasion, reflecting her style, her unique personality, her confidence, her individuality. In a world filled with ordinary, for this moment, choose extraordinary. Choose Genesis. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at EdwinWattsGolfShops.com.
Hun, we need to stop putting off getting life insurance.
I know. It's just been so busy, and I'm sure the cost is out of our budget.
Well, Jen told me that they got a $500,000 term life insurance policy from Ethos for less than $23 a month. All online with no complicated forms and no medical exam. All they had to do was answer a few health questions.
Wait, no medical exam and all online?
I know, right? It's not easy to think about, but if something happened to you, James and I would be...
Okay, I get it. Let's get a quote from Ethos right now. Wow, you were right. There's no medical exam, and Ethos makes the whole online process fast and easy. And look at these rates and coverage options. It's great protection and totally fits our budget.
Ethos. They've removed all the barriers from getting coverage. Go to checkethos.com to get your free online quote. That's checkethos.com. Quote based on a healthy, non-smoking 30-year-old male with a 20-year term policy. Rates may vary.
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
it's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Call TJ's team today to see why they're referred to so often. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook, live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts on Tennessee. How important is it for the Vols to follow up what they did last year with another great year this year? We'll take your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. So, Joe, let's say they do that, and maybe they don't win the division this year, but they're right around 10 wins again. What does that tell you about Josh Heupel and what he's building? Because we're still – I don't know that we're to the point yet where we would say that Heupel is stacking recruiting classes. He's on his way, and 2024 is looking good for the Vols. But if they're able to, this early in his tenure, go 11 wins, and let's say they get to 10 this year, what would that tell you about where things are going under Josh Heupel and the ability to compete for championships?
Well, yeah, they would be able to, I think keep the momentum going with recruiting. Now, the discussion is changing. So you said competing for championships. I still think that we had the discussion yesterday, right, about, my apparently crazy idea that Tennessee will make the 12-team playoff 4 times in its first 10 years.
Yep.
That could happen, and Tennessee could still not sniff an SEC championship.
Sure.
And some people may not like that, but that's just reality. That's what it is when you make the sport about a playoff and then you expand it. And that's going to be that's the dividing line of programs that matter and are relevant and programs that aren't moving forward, and maybe that means it even expands more later or whatever's going to happen. Super 2 leagues, whatever. I don't know. But
great.
Tennessee winning the SEC championship is still I still got it. That's still a seed of belief thing, you got to have the right conditions. There's the schedules are totally, as we've talked about, up in the air. You still have just an absolute machine in Athens. You still have an absolute machine in Tuscaloosa. And now you're bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. And now Texas, of course, Texas is basically, kind of like what Michigan was before Michigan the last 2 years figured it out. So there was a sleeping giant for sure. And then Oklahoma, but both of them have, they check all the boxes for, and any given year could be a great team.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to have tons of talent. And Florida's recruiting and LSU's recruiting, so I don't know if Tennessee is going to win the SEC anytime soon. That is a heck of an achievement moving forward. And maybe in some years, someone will win it because, that's the year that you got, 3 games that are easier than then some other team got a ridiculous schedule. And that's the stupidity of these monstrously big leagues. It's like you have no chance to have any sort of uniformity or real fairness in the scheduling. But to me, it's are they going to be a playoff contender? Are they going to be able to get in the tournament and then have a chance, to make a run? I still want to see Tennessee. I don't know how good this defense can be. You know, Josh Heupel hit one narrative yesterday, and this is when he was talking with local media. I believe he said they played the 38th most. They were number 38 in college football in series played on defense. Now that's debunking. Some people, tell defensive recruits out there, you don't want to go there. You're going to be on the field more than anybody else.
Right.
The offense either scores, goes 3 and out in 9 seconds, and you're back on the field. It's going to hurt your performance. Blah blah blah. I mean, all coaches negative recruit against each other. So that was an interesting stat. I didn't know that stat, but that's still to me that the side of the ball. I'm very confident with him in charge. Whoever the OC is, they're going to be a problem for people. But how good can they be defensively?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, can you this year generating a pass rush is part of it. Now, with the guys that they've got this year, I think they're going to be able to generate a pass rush, and they can manufacture a pass rush as well, as we saw in the Clemson game where I thought Aaron Beasley was going to finish with about 9 sacks in that game by himself. So we'll see what that looks like as they move forward. The big question to me this year is, can they cover anybody? Like, what does their secondary look like in terms of, is there depth there? Is there quality depth there? And can you get consistent play from your starters? Because that's really the one area last year where they didn't. They actually, Joe, when you look at the numbers, they defended the run extremely well last year for the most part. The secondary was pretty inconsistent for Tennessee.
Yeah, it's a huge question. A bunch of guys that people are familiar with, some newcomers to, Jordan Matthews. It'd be great for them if someone young was so good you couldn't keep him off the field. I will say that Milton got asked about everything, okay? If you're with a guy for 5 hours in like 17 different rooms, you can pretty much everything was asked. But he was asked, a few times about defensive players, and Tyler Barron was the first name out of his mouth every time. He was just asked sort of like, who's impressed you? Like, who's going to, make a splash? And Wesley Walker, he just mentioned him just multiple times too, and some other guys in there too, but those two guys in particular. So take it for what it's worth. He did also say that they recently did a 7-on-7, and the calling things out and the collective sort of voice from the other side. He was like 2 years ago, not even close to that. So it's all practice. It's talking season.
It is,
but he seems to think that, that they've got some things on the rise there. I mean, I think they're going to get after the passer, and if like Josephs and Pierce and Barron and these guys, if they're going to be really good, I mean, Mari Thomas, who was there yesterday, who's I think a tremendous talent. If they're going to terrorize quarterbacks, then those guys covering people obviously have easier jobs. The whole thing looked pretty good against Kentucky last year when Will Levis couldn't set up in the pocket, and then the entire thing looked like I don't even know the word at South Carolina.
Who do you think has a bigger statistical season this year for Tennessee? Will it be Brew McCoy or Squirrel White?
I think Squirrel White. Brew McCoy, it's really interesting just with that receiving core, because everybody sleeps on Ramel Keaton. He's going to play, and he's good. Brew McCoy has a ton of talent, but I think one of the most eye-popping quotes yesterday, and I put this in my Joe Milton piece, when he's talking with Cole Kubick and those guys, talking about Dante Thornton. Let's see. Yeah, here's the quote. Quote, "It's a different type of speed. It's unheard of." That's what Milton said about Dante Thornton. He didn't really participate in the spring, but man, I just feel like that guy's going to take some snaps, right?
Yeah.
You watch some of the Oregon clips of that dude, it is absurd. So
if you got him and Squirrel White running around together, that could be a problem.
Yeah, I just feel like Squirrel White is just. I'll go back to like when he arrived and everything. And like I remember Alex Golesh being like, "Yeah, this is one of the most impressive kids he's been around." Very talented, all that stuff. But it's like even early on, it's like, how is this kid this mature with everything about college and everything? So I mean, I hear stuff like that, and then you see the talent. I tend to think that like he's going to maximize what he is, and I think that Squirrel White's going to lead the team in receiving this year.
See, I think that too. I thought you'd go Brew McCoy. So I'm surprised that you went there.
I mean, look, I think Brew McCoy is going to be very good. I don't think Squirrel White, I don't think you're going to be able to take Squirrel White off the field. I think when, like, Thornton's out there and stuff, and we know that Heupel likes to kind of pick three and go with it, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that McCoy, Keaton, and Thornton, I think some of those guys may rotate a little bit. I think Squirrel White's going to be a constant.
I've always wondered, like, when they get to a point recruiting-wise or adding to the portal, whatever, where they've got more than just three receivers that they feel great about, how does Josh Heupel handle that? Because we've seen it thus far in Tennessee. I mean, basically, for the most part, when the guys have been healthy, they pick three and they just roll with it. And, I know Cedric Tillman missed most of the year last year, and he was kind of coming back and forth, and Ramel Keaton stepped up, played really well, all those things. But for the most part, it's been three guys that they've stuck with. I have wondered, like, when they get their receiving core to a point where they really like the options that they have, how willing will Josh Heupel be to maybe sub in some guys every now and then?
Yeah, and you got to think, like, at some point, like some years, it's like, man, this fourth guy's got to get some reps, right? So, and hey, I mean, as much as you're trying to stress a defense and go fast and everything, I know when you're going that fast, it's hard to sub too, right? But still, like, series to series, I mean, I feel like a little bit of that might be worthwhile. I mean, there's some young guys that they're excited about this year on this roster that I just don't know, how much action they're going to get.
Ethan from Lawrenceburg on the text line says Brew McCoy will lead the team in receptions. White leads the team in yards. Could be. We'll see.
Yeah,
I can see that.
That could be. I do think, McCoy will be off in the shorter outlet, especially when they do those choice routes. Like, I mean, he's a guy who get him the ball. He can run through a tackle. He can be kind of a running back once he gets the ball in his hands. So I could see that, but I think Squirrel White does everything well. So I don't know. That's going to be really interesting. I mean, those are probably the two top candidates for sure.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, it's time for Call Your Shot Friday. We'll take your called shots, your bold predictions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That's coming up next. Make sure you tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. Sounds taking on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
Big time performance, best part of the team.
Chase McCabe, 9 to 11.
An unrestricted free agent.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2.
Got the big contract.
The Velvet Touch. Talk about Hall of Famers.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
Kept going for it.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Smashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life. Improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
It's Family Leisure's huge summer clearance sale.
So what does that mean?
All summer items have to go. $2,900 pools, only $19.99 installed.
What about the spas?
A $4,000 spa is on sale at $29.99. Save even more on scratch and dents and floor models.
Patio furniture's on sale too?
All Family Leisure summer furniture is 50% off or more. Huge discounts on display models and discontinued items.
Grills and grill islands are also on sale.
All the summer inventory is on sale.
Family Leisure summer clearance sale, Franklin and Antioch.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match. Only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means. Shoot your shot. It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week, time for Call Your Shot Friday here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your called shots, your bold predictions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Joe Rexrode, how did we do last week in Call Your Shot Friday?
Well, let's see. Nick says DeAndre Hopkins signs this weekend with the Titans.
Nailed it. Attaboy.
Also says Djokovic makes it to the finals and will lose in a close match. Whoa.
Wow. Nick's on one.
His third shot was Sounds go 2-1 versus the Bats.
Yep, they got swept.
Okay. I was going to say, you could tell me right now that you got that too, and you might be the first 3 for 3 ever.
Yep,
done.
They got pummeled. Now, and look, I have a reputation to keep because when I was doing all of the things with the midday show on our different various called shots, I was on a heater before I came over, so I want to keep that going.
I like it.
Yeah, don't get all cocky over there. All right. Robby, Vanderbilt will win 6 games and be bowl eligible.
Write it down.
You put that down. Saquon Barkley will play on the tag and won't sit out. You know,
probably not.
I think he's going to play. And then you got Djokovic beats Alcaraz in a 5-set final. The last set of 6-4. Your guy did not.
It's the other way around. Alcaraz won 6-4 final set.
How about that? Okay, I said the Titans will sign DeAndre Hopkins for $11 million with escalators up to $15 million, but I did also say August 8th. So I was close on the numbers. I was wrong on the timing. I said Dalvin Cook will return to the Vikings. Well, I don't know where that is right now, but I don't know. Still out there. Still out there. And then the biggest shot I called that, of course, I knew was had no chance. SEC Media Days will be fun. I will say I had fun yesterday. I had fun with Joe Milton yesterday. I don't know if he had fun, but I had fun, so I guess I kind of got that right.
Your workload. There you go. Nick Keiser, your called shots for this week.
All right. Well, I'm going to give us 3, and I'm going to go to the world of NASCAR for my first one because why not? Go
Sure.
USA.
Let's go.
So in the highpoint.com 400, wow, what a name.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Kyle Larson to win it. So for whatever that's worth, I've heard Kyle Larson quite a bit. I've also seen him race a little bit, so I have a little bit of confidence in that pick. Not that I know how he's doing lately or anything, but that might be a good one. My second one is going to be the Women's World Cup.
Yep.
So I know that is underway, and US of A is taking on Vietnam. I'm going to take USA straight up in that matchup. I think it'll be a fun matchup for them.
Big called shot.
Yeah. So,
come on, dude. This is calling shots. That is not calling a shot.
Okay, well, I will
say they win by 4 goals, then there we go.
Ridiculous.
Okay, fair enough.
You call Vietnam, you're calling a shot.
That's right.
Okay, fair enough. I will say that USA shuts them out 3-0.
Okay.
How about
All right.
that?
Specific score I can deal with.
There you go. Then I will
Rexrode's
also...
not convinced.
Whatever,
Hold
Joe.
on. I think you got to be at least 5-0, but okay. I
5? This isn't your pick, Joe. Leave me alone. All right, Nashville SC is plus 170 against the Colorado Rapids. They have been struggling lately. I will say that they win 2-1. They have been not consistent very lately, and I hope that maybe after a strong first half, they can somewhat stay alive, maybe score a goal in the second half to win it. We'll see how they do, but they've been on the struggle bus late.
There we go. Joe Rexrode, your called shots for this week.
All right. Well, I had to fill out that wonderful ballot.
You're welcome.
9 different choices of kicker from the
There's
SEC. So I'm going to do some SEC picks. Alabama, I did this on my ballot. I'm going to do it right now as a called shot. Alabama will win the SEC. I don't have great reasoning for that. I understand the quarterback situation is a question, but, so is Georgia's, by the way. And I'm going with Nick Saban history here. Alabama wins the SEC.
Okay.
The Vols, and I do think that's a shot because, we're going to get the results today. I think Georgia will be the clear favorite to win the SEC. The Vols will go 9-3 now. Is that a called shot or not? Since I'm ripping everybody's called shots, is that a called shot?
It's a specific record, so that's fine.
Okay. I'm going to join you.
I was feeling pretty dangerous.
I'm going to join you on WHMR and say Vanderbilt will go 6-6.
Yes.
No! Come on. Here we go.
Come on.
And finally, DeAndre Hopkins will practice every day next week.
There we go.
How about that?
I like that. That's a good one. All right, my called shots. George Fant will sign with the Tennessee Titans and will continue to be the starter at right tackle after Nicholas Petit-Frere returns. What do you make of that one, Joe Rexrode? He will start, and he will continue to start when NPF comes back.
I like it. It's a shot, but also I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's a crazy idea. If he's at his best at this age and everything like that, I think that's absolutely possible. But that's a good shot.
LSU will win the SEC championship and will be the number 1 seed in the college football playoff this year. So I'm going with the LSU Tigers. Joe Milton. LSU.
That's a shot. Hold on. Let's appreciate that shot.
Yeah.
They'll be the number 1 seed. Okay.
LSU's win the SEC, and they'll be the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. Write it down. Joe Milton will be a Heisman finalist. You heard it here first. Joe Milton will be a Heisman finalist this year, Joe Rexrode. Your thoughts?
That is a shot.
Yes, it is. And I'm throwing it out there today. And finally, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Do your last shot.
Finally, Rory McIlroy will win the Open. He's 5 shots back after the round 1, but he comes back and he wins the Scottish Open last week. He will win the Open this week for another major championship for Rory McIlroy.
Rory back.
Yes, thank you.
So I got to ask you if you think Joe Milton will be a Heisman finalist. Yep. What's your record for Tennessee?
I think I'm going 10-2.
Okay.
I said 9-3 yesterday, and then I started looking at the schedule again. I think I'm going 10-2. It's talking season, baby.
Yeah, for sure. It's possible that he could be a finalist with them 10-2. I mean, that does happen sometimes with ridiculous numbers, but it's like think back to Hooker last year. Now he should have been a finalist for sure. Right. So Hooker got robbed, but Hooker's campaign for Heisman basically ended in Georgia, right? It would, fair or not, it basically did.
I mean,
to me,
maybe, but at one point he was still the favorite even after the Georgia game, and then he got hurt. So,
well, you're talking about like Vegas odds? Was he still the favorite?
Yes.
But he wasn't really the favorite. Regardless, that is a shot. That's the bottom line here. That is a shot. I like it.
I'm just saying it's a final. I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman. I'm just saying he'll be a finalist.
Peyton Manning.
Maybe he'll be a finalist. Travis on the text line says, Nick calling USA to win is like saying Alabama would beat Fairview High School. LOL. This is from Travis on the text line.
All right, guys, check it out. I'm just spitballing here. I think U.S. women's soccer is going to beat Vietnam. Just spitballing.
I saw Greg Wyshynski, friend of the show, put this out there last night. I guess the odds, you could place a bet on USA to take down Vietnam in the Women's World Cup. And I don't think he actually made this bet, but you could fill it out. He put $1,000 on like the little grid there, and if they won, you would win $1,003. So you could bet $1,000 to win $3.
Dilly dilly.
It may be the most incredible line I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, why not take $3 free dollars? You know,
maybe so. Talk about if it gets into like the second half and it's 1-1, how nervous somebody would be. Oh boy, it's a tough one.
Hashtag it is summer, so I have to do something.
Chris on the text line says the midday show was soft if Nick was making picks like that. That's how he came in on a heater. Trash picks, Nick.
Nope,
Call your shot. No gimmies.
Not making picks like that. Definitely was not. 4 weeks ago, was not making picks like that. No way.
Soft. There's no was soft.
Yeah. Got another text that says women's soccer may win 7-0 tonight. People all over Kaiser on the text line.
I will take it. Go for it. I don't care.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, soccer, you can dominate in soccer and win, 2-0, but 3-0, man. I think I will take the over/under on 3.5.
You gonna move it to 4?
Whatever. I don't care. You can run it up to 7 or 8. I really don't care at this point.
Jeez, he's mad now. He's mad.
Wow. Hey man, you did great last week, but let's call some shots around here, Nick.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Jared Stillman. We'll get his thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins to the Titans, his thoughts on Tennessee, and who knows, maybe his thoughts on whether or not Tennessee's making the playoff 4 times in the next 10 years. We'll just have to wait and see. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
All the big plays.
Rebound, try out in front. And Saros covers it up.
All the big stories.
Andrew Burnett reportedly hired as the next head coach of the Predators.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Comparing goalies to running backs.
46-27 Vanderbilt.
Does this group of players need more?
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Gear up for back to school at Electronic Express. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699, or a Maytag front-load laundry pair just $699 each. Guaranteed lowest prices in every department at Electronic Express, including computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, and more. Don't miss out on an Avanti portable ice maker for only $89, or an Acer gaming monitor just $129. Plus, get up to 60 months special financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
God, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 50 features.
Ooma?
Yep, switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Find small business calm at ooma.com/radio. That's OOMA.com/radio.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keiser. The Josh Harris era has started with the Washington Commanders organization as he's officially taken over as the team's new owner. Here's what he had to say about taking over the franchise.
Look, it's an amazing day, obviously, for me personally and for our group, and it's an amazing vote of confidence to be accepted unanimously into the NFL, incredible league. And so I'm going to remember, it's a high note. I grew up a Washington football fan.
Meanwhile, this weekend, Nashville SC will take on the Colorado Rapids to kick off the League Series group stage. And the Nashville Sounds took down the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 12-10 last night and are back in action tonight with pregame at 6:20 p.m. over on 94.9 The Fan. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode. Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stone and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Rebound and a score. Make every play perfect.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
We're going to win the game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun.
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keiser here with you on this Friday morning. And as we do every Friday morning at 7 o'clock, we welcome in our good friend Jared Stillman to the program. Fresh off another scintillating victory in the Jared versus Joe competition. Jared, good morning. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm just so excited to be on the program. I laughed out loud last segment when you were teasing that I would be coming on, and you said that we would be talking about whether or not Tennessee would make the playoff 4 times in the next 10 years, and I did. I was not ready for that. I had a nice little chuckle.
Well, hey, let's start there because Rexrode's thrown it out there. When the playoff expands to 12 teams, the Tennessee a minimum of 4 times in a 10-year span. You and Caroline think it's crazy? I don't think it's crazy. I don't know that I would pick it. I think probably 2 or 3 is probably where I would go with it. And we have some people that have weighed in on the text line yesterday that say it's a 12-team playoff, man. They'll get in there 5 or 6 times. What do you make of the playoff discussion around the Vols as this thing expands to 12?
As somebody who monitors the text line, and I do miss the old days of Caroline handling that for me, but as somebody who monitors the text line now, I'm surprised there weren't people thinking, I think they'll be there 10 times in the next 10 years with a 12 team. Did you see that offense last year? I mean, the Vols are back. So, I mean, look.
Maybe they will.
I do not – I think it's crazy to think that any team not named Alabama is going to make the playoff, even in a 12-team playoff, 4 times out of the next 10 years.
Have you heard of Georgia? You might want to update yourself on college football.
I mean, Georgia had a nice little run, and Georgia's a good program. But let's continue.
Yeah, let's see. They've only won 2 straight natties. Let's hold on. Pump the brakes, everybody. This is really good. Keep going. How about Ohio State? Nah, whatever.
Yeah, Ohio State's probably going to make the playoff every year. Although Ohio State hadn't made the playoff the last 2 years, Joe, so if we're only talking about what happened the last 2 years, then we shouldn't talk about Ohio State.
Like the difficulty of math for you guys of going from 4 to 12, it's times 3. Take your calculator, go 4, then go times 3.
Ohio State just made the playoff. What are we talking about? They just played Georgia.
Yeah.
They got beat,
and they should have won. Too.
Oh yeah, that's right. They backed their way in last year.
Yes,
oh yeah,
correct.
that was bullcrap too that they made it.
Nate Davis from a jar of Vicks.
Okay, so I do feel like here's the thing about Tennessee. This is the year that's going to tell us whether or not they're a one-hit wonder. Now, I think they're probably going to end up. Now, I'm sure you guys spent all week going over each team's SEC schedule. Like, all right, let's do Mississippi State.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, Mississippi State. They play at Arkansas. Who's going to win that?
We did Mount Rushmores for every team.
Yeah. So I haven't looked at Tennessee's schedule and done that, though I did correctly predict that they would be 10-2 last year. My guess is Tennessee's probably going to win 9 games, something like that this year, which is going to leave us with a lot of ambiguity about whether or not Tennessee will consistently be a top-tier program in the SEC going forward. I could see either way. I mean, Joe Milton, and I look at Joe Milton, I'm like, okay, Joe Milton played really well in that Clemson game. Clemson's a good team. But Joe Milton also has had 2 opportunities as a starting quarterback and hasn't been able to hang on to the job. So what's up with Joe Milton? And I look at Josh Heupel, and I'm like, hey, Josh Heupel, that Fakakta offense, I mean, it is legit, and it made Drew Lock a second-round pick in the NFL. But at the same time, he got worse at UCF and didn't do what he did at Tennessee this year at all at UCF. So was it the special quarterback they had last year? But then the special quarterback, he was a nobody at Virginia Tech. So was it and I guess I'm kind of still, I'm still in the thesis stage. I have not gotten to the law stage yet of Tennessee football where they are.
Speaking of Joe Milton, he was looking for you yesterday. I mean, he had this huge list. He did like 8 Radio Row hits, and you were on there, like Jarrett Stillman and company. Joe was ready to sit down with you, but you were not there for him. Very disappointing.
That's okay. I'm not really interested in putting college players on the radio, so I'm not. That doesn't bother me one iota.
Joe's good, man. Joe's good.
Every interview was like this every time, and this would just be like when I would be walking at the hotel by a TV that happened to have like an interview with a player on. Yeah, we're really excited for this season. We've been working really hard. He's a really great player. I'm really glad I get to play with him. Yeah, he's worked so hard this offseason. That's all it is. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, I thought you were a good interviewer.
Yes, I'm a good interviewer of people that are willing to talk and say more than 4 things that they've been told on the plane. These are the only 4 things you say.
So those answers were to, like, totally different questions, or like no matter what the interviewer said. Yeah, I think we're going to be good this year. I think you can Joe
Wayne
Milton
Kiffin
will answer different kinds of questions, buddy.
And said the commissioner said that we don't have to answer every question, so I'm going to use this opportunity to do that. I'm like, good. The commissioner's trying to make this media day, which is stupid anyways, even worse. Thank you.
He did say that. Jared, on the DeAndre Hopkins front, the DeAndre Watch 2023 is officially over. Hopkins makes it official yesterday, and he is now a Tennessee Titan. What do you think are fair expectations from him from a numbers standpoint this year?
First of all, Hopkins makes it official by saying that he signed officially with the Titans.
Correct.
But the Titans haven't said that it's official and that he signed officially with the Titans, right?
Maybe they're waiting to release him in the Oilers throwback. Who knows?
They're trying to figure out, like, don't the Titans have to tell us when he signs? Like, even if he signs at 2:30 in the morning, don't they have to go wake up Robby Bourne and say, hey, email right now, DeAndre signed? A little surprised by that.
Yeah.
I think the Titans are right there in the AFC with everybody else that's not Kansas City and Buffalo. I think that the way that the AFC is shaken out over the last handful of years, it's been Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Tennessee, Baltimore, and then, throw some other teams that are in there. Jacksonville had their 1 year where they, last year, their nice little run at the end of the season. The Chargers have a good young quarterback, but really, a bunch of injured, old, prone players, plus, the coach is a doofus. Cleveland, has the most expensive team in the league. So I think that the Titans are probably right there with everybody else in the AFC that's not those top 2 teams. And I do think that what DeAndre Hopkins gives them is I think the Titans this whole time have been one of those teams, unlike Kansas City or Buffalo, Kansas City and Cincinnati, that's maybe like 1 or 2 plays away over the course of a season from really having a bad season, even the years that they've been good. And it's just that A.J. Brown or Derrick Henry made those plays in 2021 and 2020 and those years, 2019 when they were 9-7. And now I think that last year they didn't make those plays. Maybe in large part because they had no offensive line, or maybe because they had no A.J. Brown. I think that the hope is that DeAndre Hopkins can either A, make those 3 or 4 plays that shift their fortune in those games like Cincinnati, or that, he can make it easier for Derrick Henry or Treylon Burks or Chig Okonkwo or Ryan Tannehill to make those plays in those games. And so between that and the fact that, the Titans still haven't done anything to address the special teams and the horrendous special teams coach they have that cost them games last season, I do think that the Titans are probably right back to where they were. I think the Titans are right back to where they were at 7-3 last year, which is they've got a shot. They're not as good as these teams with quarterbacks, but they got a shot.
So I heard more slander for Will Levis from you yesterday on your show, Jared, but I was a little confused. So you were talking about talking to a bunch of Kentucky media, about Levis.
Not just Kentucky media, Joe.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but I think you mentioned an SEC analyst. Okay. Frankly, I
talked to a lot of SEC analysts, Joe.
That's fine. That's fine, Jared.
This is like the Jeremy Fowler list. It wasn't Jeremy Fowler's list to say, okay, here are the top 10 receivers. But he talked to, I think it was 80 coaches, players, executives. At SEC Media Days, I talked to a whole smattering, just talking about Will Levis with SEC media people, with Kentucky media people, with not affiliated national media people that aren't just SEC media people. And I got so many thumbs down on Will Levis as a franchise quarterback that honestly, it was disheartening.
Well, hold on. Right. But yeah, that's what I wanted to distinguish. Because first of all, this is my opinion. The Kentucky media, people who have been around him, that's a lot more valuable than, I understand there's a lot of good people who cover the sport at large. But there's two things here. Thumbs down. I'll say that too. I'm going to guess someone who isn't, the only quarterback in this draft who I feel great about being a great NFL quarterback is Bryce Young. So that's just me, so I thumbs down most quarterbacks on the field, but just off the field. I heard you and I'm like, okay, so did he actually hear confirmation of some of these goofy personality things he's been throwing around or not?
I heard by one, that Levis was insecure. I can't say because it is politically incorrect, the exact term that was used. But I guess what I was told by one very prominent SEC analyst was that Will Levis has mental shortcomings. I think that's the politically correct way to say it. And that he's incredibly insecure. And then I asked, well, can he mature past that? Can he grow past that? And I was told, I guess sure he could, but that was something that they were very concerned about.
There you go.
Okay.
Jared Stillman, our guest.
By the way, I do want to state, because I'm off today, but I do want to state this just for the record.
Go ahead.
Will Levis's Instagram. I don't know if you guys have seen it today, or I guess it was yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, I've been monitoring closely. Yeah.
Will Levis working out on the football field with his Titan receivers and wearing shoulder pads and a helmet.
I see it.
No fashion
Pete
show
Rose
anymore.
jersey?
That's the point of the radio program. The reason the First Amendment of the United States exists is to hold those in power accountable.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, before Jared Stillman and Stillman and Company, we were wearing Pete Rose jerseys out on the practice field. Now we're wearing our helmets and shoulder pads, baby.
Not only is he in shoulder pads, but he's got the shoulder pads on top of the T-shirt, which is quite the look.
Well, hey, did I not call for that?
You did.
Thank you. Right.
Man, thank goodness. Boy, what would the Titans do without you, man?
Jared, have yourself a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
I don't know what the Titans would do without me, but without me, Joe doing his show on remote would sound like this when he was doing it before like that.
It's true. You were his inside man.
By the way, I have one other thing to drop in here. I'm sorry. I know you guys are,
do whatever
you're
you want.
done talking to me. Have you guys given Kaharski a hard time yet about the tweet that he sent out yesterday?
What was that?
Which one are you referring to?
I texted a little with DeAndre Hopkins, and here's what he said. He's excited to join the Titans, and he really likes Tim Kelly. And I read that, and I'm like, oh, you texted with him? Yeah. And I figured that, it's just, did you have to tell everybody you texted with him, or were you telling people you texted with him because, you're the man?
Jared, you just claimed that some goofy segment on your show prompted Will Levis to wear shoulder pads in a workout.
Yeah, I mean, I was only being mildly sarcastic, but yes.
But you said
it. Jared, have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you next
guys.
week. Jared Stillman, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts on the Titans. What Jared Stillman had to say there. DeAndre Hopkins making it official yesterday. We'll get into all that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Drive. Hey guys, it's Q, Murr, and Sal from Practical Jokers, and we are excited to announce our brand new Drive tour.
True TV and Practical Jokers, the Drive Tour, starring Q, Murr, and Sal. July 27th, the Opry House.
This is going to drive me insane.
Tickets on sale now at Opry.com. 16 years of age or older suggested to attend. Produced by Outback Presents.
Sometimes you want a sure return on your investment. That's where CDs come into play. At F&M Bank, they've been providing smart choices to customers for over a century, including CDs that are a great way to save. You make a deposit and collect the earnings on your terms. Great rates, predictable results, and backed by the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. That's smart banking. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. So go see them at one of their 20 locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky, or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
For more than 100 years, Lincoln Tech's NADC in Nashville has helped people transform their lives by learning the skills they need to build a brighter future. While the skills, tools, and jobs have changed, one thing hasn't: Lincoln's ability to adapt their auto, diesel, and heavy equipment maintenance programs to meet the hiring needs of America's employers. Put your potential to work and enroll now for July classes at Lincoln Tech's NADC. Visit lincolntech.edu for info and to schedule a campus tour.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Men, this is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you're suffering with erectile dysfunction or other sexual health issues, you need to know that there is no one-size-fits-all treatment because everyone's made differently. That's why our urologists and medical providers offer a broader array of treatment options and can even combine or adjust treatments for greater effectiveness. ED can result from aging, low testosterone, prostate issues, underlying medical conditions, and more. And understanding why you have ED is the first step in treating the condition. That's why you need to know your numbers and understand what other factors might be contributing, and then work with an expert to treat it. And that's where we shine. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we have protocols that are effective in nearly 90% of cases, which means we'll likely find the right treatment for you and you can get your sex life back. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices to serve you, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Good morning.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty.
I had the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, where their advanced Pay by TJ option can save you thousands when selling your home. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. Live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Thanks to Jared Stillman for being with us in the last segment. LD on the text line says, all Titans players and coaches are anxiously waiting with bated breath for Stillman and Company to air daily. This is from LD from McMinnville on the text line. I will say I did not monitor Will Levis's Instagram page as closely as Jared did, but to his point, he is throwing in helmets and shoulder pads now. So it's good to see.
Do you believe Jared when he said he was being sarcastic?
I think he was 30% being sarcastic, 70% true.
Oh, you're going to give him 30. Okay.
30%.
I'll give him 9.
9. That's good.
He's 91.9 serious.
Just beautiful. Robert on the text line said,
I'm going to ask Levis about this.
Robert says, did Jared just say the First Amendment Constitution was to uphold football players to do the right thing? LOL. This from Robert on the text line. Very nicely done. Hey.
That aspect of it was kind of him being funny, I think.
Shout out to Will Levis for wearing shoulder pads over the top of his shirt yesterday, throwing the football around. It's good to see. Did have a Titans helmet on too, Joe. He's got that with him.
That's very interesting. So he's in that. What about the receivers?
I mean, I can't really make out who he's throwing the ball to out there, but yeah, he's got receivers. And I believe they were also in shoulder pads and a helmet. Yeah.
Okay, so they all did it. Wow. Influencing more than just one guy.
Just a helmet with the receivers, no shoulder pads.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, well, it's a good idea.
It is. DeAndre Hopkins making it official yesterday. Joe Rexrode. He is apparently signed with the Tennessee Titans. We wondered when the actual contract was going to get done. Apparently, it now is, and he put out a nice little highlight video last night, or kind of a foreshadowing video. You know, some DeAndre Hopkins footage in a Houston Texans jersey, flashing to some DeAndre Hopkins footage, and there's an Arizona Cardinals jersey, and then a nice Photoshop Titans jersey with DeAndre Hopkins on it. It sounds like it's done. Titans haven't said anything yet, but I would imagine that's coming soon. Joe Rexrode and DeAndre Hopkins officially a member of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, to that point, sometimes with things like this, you see this a lot with like coach hires and stuff like that. With coach hires, it's like, like there's HR stuff before school can announce, everybody knows, they've agreed in principle, but like you're not going to get the official email until the lawyers sign off and everything. So sometimes it's just like, it's just technical stuff that has to get done before the email goes out. So I'd imagine that would come out at some point today.
We've had this text a lot over the last couple weeks. A lot of people concerned that Will Levis has not signed the contract yet. I mean, the contracts are like slotted in, so there's really only it's going to happen at some point. Like the days of rookies holding out of training camp, I believe, are behind us at this point.
Right. Sometimes it takes a little longer. But there are some little
language.
Some minor. Yeah, there's some language in contract, and like I forget it's not deferred money. I don't know, but there's some language on. Yeah, and some of the little technical details that sometimes there's a little bit of quibbling over, but yeah, that's not a concern.
So, Joe, as we sit here today, just a few days away from training camp beginning for the Tennessee Titans, hard to believe, training camp right around the corner for the Titans. What are the biggest question marks heading into camp this season for the Tennessee Titans? As we sit here today with DeAndre Hopkins now in the fold, when you start to think about the question marks for the Titans, what are the first few things that come to mind?
Other than the offensive line?
You can start there. You can go other than the offensive line, whatever. I think we all know the offensive line.
Yeah, that's it's to me now that is hugely, well beyond everything else. It's the offensive line and then everything else. I mean, look, there's still the question of what is Hopkins? Is Burks going to, that room is still, there's still a lot of questions to be answered by that room too. But as I go down other things that are a little bit more in the weeds, I guess, mean, one of my questions, and like some of these, like, is Camp going to answer them? You know, like Chigakonkwo. I think we all can see the ability. I think the Titans love him. It was a great pick. He had a really promising rookie year, and he's worked hard to be an all-around tight end, but you still have to see it. It's Chigakonkwo, effective. You know, we talked about this offensive line in terms of kind of also changing the style a little bit. The offense is changing a little bit. The style changing a little bit. The Titans, I think, are going to be a little bit more balanced team. Pass the football. They're still going to have to absolutely run the ball effectively. Derrick Henry's still going to have to be a huge part of this offense, even if he isn't getting quite as many carries. Chigakonkwo has to be on the field all the time and be good at run block. Not just, he can be out there and it's it's not a total tell now when he's on the field, but also like he has to actually be good at it. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, I think that's a worthwhile question. And then beyond that position, right? I mean, I know people are having a parade that Jeff Swaim's gone, but is Josh Wiley ready to come in as a rookie and actually make a difference? And in that position, we only talk about Chig, and we only talk about Chig as a pass catcher, right? But that position's very important to every football team. It's going to be very important to this football team. So I think that's kind of an underrated question as a position group.
My biggest question, aside from the offensive line heading into this thing right now, actually comes on the defensive side of the ball, and that is, at what point are we going to see Harold Landry, and what does Harold Landry look like once we do? I don't think you're going to see a ton of him during camp. Like, he's not going to play in the preseason. I think we know that. You're going to get him healthy and ready to go by the time the regular season rolls around. But, like, at what point is Harold Landry back on the field, even if he's not, a full participant every day? At what point is he back on the field and participating with the Titans? I mean, we're closing in on a full calendar year since he sustained the injury. So we've talked about what that could mean in terms of his recovery and how effective he is this year. I'm interested to see that. And one thing that I still don't know that we've talked enough about, Joe, and by we, I mean everybody heading into the Titans, inside linebacker. That's really interesting to me this year. And nobody pays attention to inside linebacker anymore, and I get it. But David Long Jr. is a good player when he's on the field, and I like what they've done with Al-Shaair coming in. I think he's a good player. I have no idea what Monty Rice is going to be as a starting player in the league this year, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Big deal. No doubt. David Long Jr., really good player, made a big difference for this team, so that's a good one. And, Landry is interesting. He's going to be so much – again, it's like a lot of these. It's like, okay, now the season starts. Now we really get a lot more information, but I'm going to guess that they're going to be super cautious with Landry, right?
I would assume so.
Even though, he should – the timeline suggests, like, in theory, he could participate in camp. But, that's going to be interesting because you still do. I mean, you have different people he's playing with now, people next to him, people on the other side of him. So, like, there's still a collective timing aspect and things like that that's important for a defense. But, I think it's going to be a lot of real care with him until they get closer to football.
Some really interesting news on the Titans front that we will get to coming up next that has just come out. We'll get to take your thoughts on the Titans as well, 615-737-1025. That's next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
End zone throw. Oh, what a catch! One-handed DeAndre Hopkins. The Tennessee Titans have signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
Signing with the Tennessee Titans on a 2-year deal.
Well, it's definitely not a surprise. This is something that had been expected.
What can the talented wideout bring to the team?
He's still someone who, against one-on-one coverage, he's going to eat.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
The FedEx Cup playoffs start in Memphis at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Come out to TPC Southwind August 9th through the 13th and watch the PGA Tour's top players battle to make it through Memphis. Enjoy Memphis at its finest with specialty cocktails, local eats, a vibrant atmosphere, and much more. 2 kids 15 and under admitted free with a ticketed adult. Daily grounds and upgraded tickets are available now at FedExChampionship.com.
There's nobody on the planet who's as picky when it comes to diamonds as Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon.
I'm very, very selective on the diamond that I pick.
Indeed, Boaz will look at 2,000 diamonds on the world market and find maybe 2 or 3 that meet his criteria.
What most people don't know, and even jewelers, a diamond has much more than the 4 C's. He has maybe 20 C's.
Like the diamond's luster grade or brilliance level, its feathering, its inclusions, its table, its polish, its symmetry, even the diamond's own DNA or X-ray report, which most jewelers don't even know about.
I refuse to sell diamonds that don't go through our very, very strict criteria.
Which means a Genesis diamond is one she can be proud to wear, with the most sparkle and brilliance and real intrinsic value.
This is my goal, to go all over the world and find only the best hand-selected diamond.
Genesis Diamonds, setting the highest quality standards in the jewelry business. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official brand perception report for doors and windows is in. Pella Windows and Doors are the leading brand among all others. A few reasons why. Pella is regarded as the highest quality, the most innovative, and the installers with Pella of Nashville lead the way for attention to detail. That's why Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of Pella's top locations in the country. For new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
A toast to our new college grad who fills us with so much joy, almost as much as when we're in our RV. Oh, the world is your oyster, kiddo, and ours too. Now that we're covered with Progressive, Dad and I can hop in our RV anytime we want. Might even splurge on a retractable awning. Ooh, look out. Sorry, what was I talking about?
Protect your loved one with an RV policy from Progressive. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes. He wants to be the starter, day one. Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay, but Professor Derek.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered. Here.
Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, Nashville? This is Stephen A. Smith. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I ended last year and was like, talking to my agent, like, bro, like, I'm want to get extension. Like, I want to be here. But, I did the clean out day and the media and everything. And I'm like, bro, like, I don't want to play for another organization. Like, this is my legacy. I love it here in Nashville. And so, I have a conversation with my agent at the end of the season, like, because I kind of know, like, I'm a very business savvy person. I'm kind of smart. Like, I understand that. And I feel like we can pivot after this, but like kind of talking about John, and John was trying to sell out as much as he could to build a championship team. And so for myself, like, I restructured my contract twice. The first time I think was to sign Clowney. And the second time was, I think after I went all pro or something like that, restructured again. It might've been to sign Robert. It was something like that. Yeah. Because, like, you're trying to bring on talent, so you're trying to, create cap space. But what that does is what most people don't realize. What it does is it increases your cap hit later in the life of your contract. So that's a situation where, like you said, you get a new GM that comes in. He just looks at this sheet and just like, man, I have, like, for example, obviously you got released. Mm-hmm. Ben Jones got released. Bud got released. He's looking like, okay, the roster's a little bit weird. We're a little bit older now. Mm-hmm. So, like, I got to clear cap space. I got to clear cap space from anywhere. And so, like I said, I mean, that was my idea of going into the conversation. So when my agent called me, he was like, hey, it kind of went another way. So, like, obviously I wasn't in the room, so I don't really know exactly how, like, was it a situation where it's like, hey, we want to do extension. They just went the complete opposite way.
That was Kevin Byard a few weeks ago on Bussin' with the Boys, discussing how the offseason has gone. We talked a lot about Kevin Byard and his relationship with the Titans this offseason, Titans approaching him with a pay cut, all those things. Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network putting out there just a few minutes ago, quote, the Titans and Pro Bowl safety Kevin Byard have agreed to terms on a restructured contract for the 2023 season. His base salary is now $11 million, and there are incentives available to get back to the $14 million he was originally owed. This from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. So, Joe, the first reaction to that is, well, that's the move that has been made to clear up some money for DeAndre Hopkins coming in. So that's step one of my reaction to it. Step two is I'd love to know what these incentives are, because we've spent all this time about Kevin Byard taking a pay cut. I would assume that the incentives are probably pretty easy to get to if you're Kevin Byard to get back to the $14 million that I've owed. But here we are yet again with Kevin Byard restructuring his contract now for the third time.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. So this is kind of a pay cut.
I mean, that's why I would be really interested to see what the incentives are, because on the surface, it's a pay cut. I mean, you're going down to $11 million with your base salary. I'd love to know, like, are the incentives that he can tie his shoes? Are the incentives that he plays in 5 games? Like, what are the incentives to get it back to the $14 million that's originally owed? Because that was my first reaction when I saw it too. Was like, oh, so he did take a pay cut after all, through all this stuff.
200 tackles, 14 picks, Super Bowl MVP.
Correct.
You'll get your money. Yeah, it's interesting. And again, we talk about this a lot. We talk about the cap and contracts, and that was a good clip Nick brought us in with there for Buzzing with the Boys. Him talking about the restructure usually is just basically like you get you do get more money up front. You get a restructure, and it's kicking the can. Like you said, then your cap hit is bigger. Cap hits do matter. It all is taken into account. But obviously, this is a way that you can create. That's why it's a soft cap, and it's very different from the NHL.
Our buddy Jared Stillman has texted me and says the incentives have to be labeled as not likely to be earned. Likely to be earned incentives count against the fake cap. This is from Jared on my own personal text line. So there you go.
Oh, good. Thank goodness we got the fake cap mentioned in here. Jared, aren't you off today? I think you should go motivate some more NFL players.
Well, but to his point, if the incentives are, quote, not likely to be earned, did Kevin Byard just take a pay cut?
That's pay cut.
Yeah.
Right.
So we get through all that, and then he takes a pay cut.
So there's an interesting, and again, like you said, it looks certainly like something to be in tandem with the Hopkins signing, which, again, if we're going to talk fake cap, then so is this because Amy just doesn't want to pay the cash, or is it because it's related to the cap that actually exists? You tell me.
I'm going with the cap that exists.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's really interesting. I'd be very interested to hear what Kevin Byard says about this. And what we also don't know is, like, way back when, and Byard hit on it there, it's like Carthon comes in. We said this too. I get it. A new GM comes in and says, running back and safety, huh?
Yeah.
Take up that much of your cap, okay? But I'd love to know. I never saw any reports on what exactly that entailed, what the request that was rejected before entailed. But perhaps much more extensive than this. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to hear what Byard says about this. But look, I do think that if you're Kevin Byard and you are at your age at that position, very good player, no doubt about it. But like you at this point, it's a pretty good deal making what you're making, and I think you're moving into a territory where it happens so fast in this league where your marketability falls off the table. So if Kevin Byard is, all of which is to say, I think Kevin Byard, like, being in good graces here and being back next year is probably his best bet.
Probably so. I mean, to your original, I would love to know what the original request was by Rand Carthon, the Titans, in terms of the pay cut, because, now on the surface, it's just like, well, you went through all this in the offseason to now get to a point where you're essentially taking a pay cut if you're Kevin Byard. So, look, we've talked about it. I didn't agree with nor really understand the idea of the Titans approaching Kevin Byard about taking a pay cut given his level of play over the last couple of years. And I get it. You're making some room for Hopkins, but I just wonder, has something changed with Byard? Like, has his perspective on it changed? Why were we so against the pay cut? Now all of a sudden we're taking one before training camp starts.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, without knowing the details previously and the incentives now, this isn't. So if you just ask someone to, just in general, like if I'm a player in the league and I get asked to just like take a pay cut because I'm viewed as making too much, especially if I'm like, hey man, I'm the leader of this defense or one of the two leaders of this defense and I'm a great player, just cold asked to do that as compared to, hey, we think we can be good this year. DeAndre Hopkins, just like he said. I mean, it's funny because he forgot like whoever was he restructured it for previously, but obviously he remembered the first one. And Clowney was a huge pursuit for that defense. He knew how badly they needed pass rush. He knows how badly the offense needs playmakers now. So there's the lesson. Have a reason other than you make too much money.
Right. I got a text that says the only way I see Byard agreeing to this is that there's a quote unquote promise of an extension coming, or he's the most loyal player ever. This from an unnamed texter on the text line. I mean, Nate on the text line talked about no one can ever say KB's not a team guy. Is there another player in Titans history that's restructured his contract 3 times? I mean, the restructure part of this prior to this move, Joe, has not meant that he's lost out on any money. It's just that they're shifting the cap hit around.
Exactly.
But this
one's a
little bit different.
Yeah, the only thing about the cap hit shifting around is then, that's what he was pointing out with Lawan is then, like, oh, that's a big cap hit later in your career. And you're, like the team looks at it and says, well, we might need to move that out. Right. But it still comes down to like the money you get is like the guaranteed money you get. Right.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, those weren't really sacrifices. This looks like an actual sacrifice.
So I would imagine with the contract being restructured, he's still under contract for next year too. So we just add to the cap hit for next year, and then they'll figure it out after that. You need to restructure Kevin Byard until 2028. That's
sure.
A $55 million cap hit.
Cap's fake, man.
There's somebody yelling at you on the text line about the cap being fake. Says fake cap, soft cap. It's literally the same thing. Y'all are just arguing over which word to use. It does not cap spending. From an unnamed texter on the text line.
Well, yeah. All right. Do I listen? It does cap spending because Jared wants people to believe that this is the only strategy to get under the cap, which you still have to do. It's not. Teams lose out, usually mid-level players, a lot because they make cap sacrifices. So it does cap spending. If you don't have every single player that you'd like to have on your roster, then you have been affected by this thing. Am I right or am I wrong? Like this idea that everyone just restructures 19 contracts every year and doesn't ever just, move on from a player that they'd like to have, but no, the cap hit's too big is so stupid. Don't get me pissed off right now.
Well, that's what I was trying to do, but I'm going back to the the Ian Rappaport part of this. The wording in his tweet is interesting because he says restructured his contract, right? Which I guess technically it is. But it just sounds like a straight up pay cut, right? Like it's not really, it doesn't really sound like a restructure.
Yeah, I think when you use the word restructure, you should, like the way it is in the NFL now, you should not use it for this.
Right.
Because restructure to me is just like the can kicking that we talk about all the time, Here's more money up front, cap hit, gets moved. Yeah, I agree. Using that word, even if it's technically like a lot of different things could be a quote unquote restructure, I don't think it should be applied here because it's confusing.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, it's time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. We will do that next. I got some tickets to give away, a pair of tickets to see John Fogerty at First Bank Amphitheater coming up on July 25th. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Caller number 3 will win a pair of tickets to see John Fogerty at First Bank Amphitheater coming up on July 25th. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
They fight, Jared,
you're how do you know, Joe? How do you know?
And fight.
And because of that,
But how do you know that, though? But that's okay. It's Jared and Joe. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m., Jared Stillman and Joe Rexrode debate the big topics in sports. Jared versus Joe. Presented by Pella Windows and Doors and Parman Tractor and Equipment on Stillman and Company. Wednesdays at 5 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. With 35 miles of sugar white sands and emerald green Gulf waters, it's no wonder why. Let's unwind under the sun on Clearwater Beach, ranked #1 beach in the South by USA Today readers. And then liven up the night at the Sound, a new outdoor waterfront concert venue featuring performances this summer by Peter Frampton, the Goo Goo Dolls, and more. Let's shine. Plan your getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
It's Family Leisure's huge summer clearance sale.
So what does that mean?
All our summer items have to go. Everything in stock is on sale at Family Leisure. Pools, spas, and outdoor furniture are all on sale.
Give me an example.
A $2,900 pool is now only $19.99 installed. Or a huge 24-foot by 52-inch pool is only $29.99 installed with an upgraded filter package.
Oh, wow, that's great. What about the spas?
Right now, take $1,000 off a $4,000 spa at $29.99 at Family Leisure. Save even more on scratch and dents and floor models.
So the patio furniture's on sale too?
All the Family Leisure summer furniture must go. 50% off or more with even bigger discounts on display models and discontinued items.
I'm guessing the grills and grill islands are also on sale.
All of the summer inventory is on sale. Even the Diamond Point Play Gym is down to $19.99.
Family Leisure's summer clearance sale. Both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 102.5 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment, let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
You know, obviously they made some plays. We had a hard time staying in front of them at the end of the day.
The old switcheroo from executive producer Nick Keiser here on the program. It's that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. Joe Rexrode's Rant of the Day. Joe, the floor is yours. I turn things over to you.
All right, well.
You going to talk about the cap?
For a minute, okay? Don't get me started. Chase just texted you and me.
Yeah.
The cap is wrestling fake. I'm like, what does that mean? Wrestling fake. I need to know what that means. You know what? But this brings up a something I actually have loved lately.
Yeah.
Is listening to Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace recently, a couple segments. In fact, so they had a segment with Jonathan Hutton, and he talked almost entirely about the cap the whole time, and it was good. It was very good analysis around the cap, and Willie talks about the cap a lot too. And I love that Caroline has moved away from Jared and his ridiculousness and is now doing radio segments in which the salary cap of the NFL, which is a real thing that exists and must be dealt with, is treated with the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
So
I've
enjoyed that very much.
I like it.
Yeah. I love it, man. Every time I hear people talking about the cap, I'm like, yeah, let's do it, baby. Let's do it. But no, I will pivot now to a request for all SEC, and I guess mostly Tennessee. Maybe I don't need to ask the Tennessee media, and I mean Tennessee, I mean Vols media, but I beg of everyone, like he'll be on a radio show, he'll go on game day, whatever. I mean, he's gonna be in the media a lot this year. I think he's gonna be a really good player for a really good team. You gotta stop asking Joe Milton about how far he can throw a football, man. Like, I mean,
how far do you think he can?
That is, I guess I'll give Cole Kublik credit because a lot of other people, and some people were joking around, like Ryan McGee yesterday was like, "Yeah, the internet told me you can throw it 4 miles," and Joe's like, "No, 5 miles." You know, so it's fun and all that stuff, but the term that Milton used a few times was, "I'm not a rag doll," but I almost took that like I'm not a carnival performer. I'm not here for your entertainment. Okay, I'm not here to do party tricks for you, and seriously, like. It's okay. We all know he has a huge arm and all that stuff. And whoa, and look, he went to the Peyton Manning, the Manning Pass Academy, and he ripped one for 83 yards or whatever it was, and so it goes viral. And I mean, that's going to happen again. But like in terms of people who have conversations with him that bring the conversation to the public, I can't imagine there's certainly any Vols fan or really like any like college football fan who would care to watch or listen to these things who wants to hear that anymore, right? Like, I mean, like we joke about stuff and narratives get beat into the ground left and right, but I'm just saying this a day after 5 straight hours, like it got to the point where I couldn't help but laugh. And I'm like, I feel so bad that I don't realize what 5 straight hours of this can be, especially if there's one thing that everyone's going to ask you about. Some people go through those 5 hours and maybe there's just not, there's not some topic that's like, "Ooh, we got to ask about this." Like, I can't tell you. I was going to count it up, but I mean, it was so many different people in so many different ways asking how far he can throw a football or how far he can throw an orange or how far he can throw a baseball or how far he can throw a Frisbee. He was asked yesterday. How far can you throw a Frisbee? Like it's just, and again, he handled it tremendously well. And it's not like it's some huge tragedy that someone's asked about how strong their arm is, but I think we can end it now. Okay. Yesterday, the 5 hours yesterday, let's move on to other things. Okay. We know he can throw it far. We know he has a strong arm. Yeah. I do want them to throw a Hail Mary from their own 20. I mean, you got to use that arm. He can throw a crossing pattern to someone 60 yards downfield. Okay. On a line, but man, enough already.
I mean, I still think one of the number one things I want to know about Joe Milton is how far he can actually throw the football. Like, is it 94 yards? Is it 92 yards? He says it starts with a 9. We learned that yesterday.
Yeah. Kublik got him to admit it starts with a 9. But here's the thing. I mean, and he probably does know. But this is what he had ready for everybody is like, I don't know and I don't want to know because I don't, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said it's a mindset thing. And what he means by that is I don't want to limit myself. If I say I can throw it this far, then maybe at some point I need to throw it a yard farther. And now in my mind, I've capped myself. So he's trying to throw it even farther. He's working on his distance with the football.
Keith on the text line says, "Pot, hey kettle, you're black." That's from Keith on the text line. We have spent a lot of time talking about how far Joe Milton can throw a football. There's no question about that.
Yes. No, hey, I'm guilty of that for sure. But here's the thing, in all seriousness, it's not like the Vols media. Like there's other issues with fanboy SEC media contingents.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it's not like the people who cover Tennessee on a daily basis are like, "So Joe, that over yours." I mean, it's more the general media, and of course something like SEC Media Days, you get a whole bunch of that. Like, oh yeah, like I said earlier on the show, I mean, he spent time in rooms where like, "Okay, Joe, now say, not so fast, my friend." He's cutting all these promos and everything, and I mean, there's a lot of goofy stuff that goes on. So it's not going to be some daily basis thing here, like from the Vols beat, but like media at large, he's going to be a bigger story. He could potentially be. You just picked him to be a Heisman finalist. I mean, he could potentially be all over the place this year. And of course, that's part of his story, but there are other things about Joe Milton that are interesting.
He chases rabbits, for God's sake. Grew up in Pahokee, Florida, chasing rabbits. There's all kinds of things about Joe Milton that are interesting.
That's it's what's wild is I don't think that came up one time yesterday.
Well, that's an oversight on just the media at large yesterday. I mean, we need to really drill down on that. Look, to your point, that I would imagine after about the 5th time, it's exhausting to just be like, yeah, man, I could throw the football pretty far. We can all see it. The questions around him this year, beyond that part of it, and just how fun it's going to be to watch him play. In all seriousness, can he make the touch throws this year? Can he? You talked about him slimming down a little bit. Can he evade the rush this year? Which is it's part of what made Hendon Hooker so great, was his ability to escape pressure. And I don't think Joe Milton's ever going to be like Hendon Hooker in terms of that aspect of it. Can he be a little bit more shifty back there? And the other part that's really intriguing to me, because Hendon Hooker running the ball, not just being shifty, escaping pressure, but him taking off and running when he needed to last year. Like, we've seen Milton, once he builds up a head of steam, it's tough to bring down once he does that. I'm interested to see how much he implements that this year as a part of his game in terms of just the quarterback run game in this offense.
I agree. And there's also, I just think there's also an element of the word that I have used at times for him is ponderous. For one thing, like, he's very courageous in the pocket. I mean, he stands and he doesn't get happy feet, right? But sometimes I do think you have to make a little bit quicker decision to either just get rid of it or go.
Yeah.
And I think his internal clock needs to kind of speed up there at times, and the way he plays, you go through a full season, I think he takes too many sacks in a full season, the way that he has played. So to your point there, if he is a little bit quicker, if it's a little bit less of a slow starter, maybe that helps him too. It gives him a little confidence, because like you said, think about the play he got hurt on against Pittsburgh was like a 75-yard run. He's got he's got everything you need, but it's just a matter of putting it all together. And that, I think, is definitely part of it, is just a little bit, because Hooker was just so good at sensing things. And also Hooker was incredibly quick and elusive, and Milton does not and won't have that. But Milton coming at you is a nightmare to tackle. That's what he has going for him, even though you don't necessarily want your quarterback trucking people, but he can do that.
102.5-106.3 The Game has your chance to win tickets to Misfits Boxing X Series 008 boxing matches at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium this Saturday. Text in the keyword boxing to the game text line at 615-737-1025 now to enter for your chance to win. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter. We'll get his thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins to the Titans, the Kevin Byard restructure of his contract, and much more. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
It will help them get better players. I'm really excited about this defensive front.
And your source for Nashville sports.
They had missed the playoffs.
Those players may end up being practice squad guys.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
On July 22nd in Nashville, Tennessee, 4 men will compete in one boxing ring. Only one winner will be declared. Who will be the last man standing in the first ever Survivor Tag? KSI's Misfits Boxing is coming to Nashville. That's right, Misfits and DAZN are bringing Misfits 008 to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, including some of the biggest names in the crossover and celebrity boxing space. The night will be packed full of action, including the first ever tag team boxing match in the U.S. Fighters on the night include gun expert Brandon Herrera, fan favorite B-Dave, political activist Alex Stein, chart-topping rapper Swarms, lightweight champion Dean the Great, former BKFC champion Alan Belcher versus Hasim Rahman Jr., and many, many more. Misfits 008 tickets are available now, starting at $20 from Ticketmaster.com.
We buy any car.
Selling your car by yourself can lead to some strange encounters.
So how many bodies does this car hold? Bodies? It's a 5-passenger car.
Right. Passengers.
Don't deal with selling it yourself. Come to WeBuyAnyCar.com instead. It's easy. You get in, get out, and get paid at a fair price.
I sell mannequins. Oh, what'd you think? Nothing. Nothing at all.
Get your free online valuation now at
WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Jasper's on West End Avenue is your neighborhood bar and restaurant. They offer a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, a large bar, lounge area, and patio seating, plus free parking. That's right, free parking on West End. Come into Jasper's today to enjoy their elevated bar fare and well-crafted cocktails. Happy hour Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, and now game night every second and fourth Thursday. Drop in anytime where you can win gift card prizes each week. That's Jasper's on West End Avenue, Nashville's place to gather, play, eat, and drink.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Summit offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Hermitage location specialize in general orthopedics, sports medicine, and hip and knee pain and injuries. Get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Conveniently located in the TriStar Summit Medical Center in Hermitage, right off I-40. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the game at 615-737-1025.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. This is Nick Keyser. The Josh Harris era has started with the Washington Commanders organization as he's officially taken over as the team's new owner. Here's what he had to say about taking over the franchise.
Look, it's an amazing day, obviously, for me personally and for our group, and it's an amazing vote of confidence to be accepted unanimously into the NFL, incredible league. And so I'm going to remember, it's a high note. I grew up a Washington football fan.
Meanwhile, this weekend, Nashville SC will take on the Colorado Rapids to kick off the League Series group stage. And the Nashville Sounds took down the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 12-10 last night, and are back in action tonight with pregame at 6:20 p.m. over on 94.9 The Fan. Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063.
And the score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime. ESPN's Turon Davenport. Talking Titans. Now. On Robby and Rexrode. On ESPN. 1025 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Yes, sir. It's that time of the week. Time to welcome in our friend Turon Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD. We go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. TD, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, TD, obviously, DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Tennessee Titans, and you've talked a lot this week about what that could mean for the team and all those things. I'm just curious, when you watch tape of Hopkins and you watched his most recent film from last season, what stands out to you in terms of your confidence level that he will continue to be productive as he continues to age in the NFL? We've talked about he's never really been kind of a speed guy, a burner guy, but he does a lot of other things really, really well that gives me confidence that he's going to continue to be productive. What stands out to you when you watch Hopkins at this stage of his career?
Well, I think the thing is with him is, as you mentioned, he hasn't ever been known as a speed guy. He hasn't ever been known as a guy who, is going to be a downfield burner or anything like that. But he does manage to still make plays down the field because he's a crafty, savvy route runner. And the way that he's able to play as far as understanding positioning and just playing basketball basically on the perimeter, just going up and getting the football. It translates to being able to continue to play into later years. Whereas you look at some of the other receivers or players, period, whose game is based off of speed and things like that, it's a lot harder for them to continue that level of play late into their career. So for me, he still has it. Long story short, that's the best way I could put it. And you look, there's actually I posted something a couple of days ago. It was against the
Rams.
I forget what team it was. The Rams. Yeah, it was against the Rams, and the ball was behind him, and he reached back and snapped it out the air. And on that play, just it not being an interception was a plus. He reached back and caught it, and it was a completion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a great point. He's not reliant on some traits that, like, at a certain age, some guys, it just starts to fade on them. So I think he's got that longevity in terms of his game. I do, though, TD, just because, and I know last year wasn't really injury play, but you had the MCL hammy the year before, you had the PD suspension. That's my biggest concern is just, you get into your 30s and then you add all that together and you do wonder just in terms of, being able to answer the bell every week. How big of a concern do you think that is? What do you think would be like, obviously the Titans want it to be 17, but what's a number that makes this signing valuable enough of games that Hopkins plays this year?
Yeah, I think 14 to 15 games is probably more realistic target. But, if they could get him at least 14 games, I think that makes the deal definitely one that works, in my opinion.
So, TD, Ian Rappaport put it out there a little bit earlier today, the Kevin Byard restructuring of the contract, base salary now at $11 million, is incentives available to get it back to 14. I mean, my original thought on that was, all right, you're making room for DeAndre Hopkins if you're the Titans and his deal coming in. But also, it kind of feels like in some ways Kevin Byard is just taking a pay cut after everything we've talked about this offseason. So what do you make of the Kevin Byard restructure that's now been put out there?
Yeah, the timing is very interesting. Obviously, we know what's going on as far as the Titans getting ready to make that DeAndre Hopkins deal official. I think it's just it's funny how such a big deal was made about this, right? And everybody said, hey, he's going to get traded. Kevin Byard's not going to be around. And they dogged Rand Carthon for it, but now look, ends up getting done, and it's going to help them be able to make some additions because George Fant is a guy that they're working out, and that's something that's probably going to end up being done as well. So I think in this case, it's the timing is great because it allows Kevin Byard to say, hey, look, man, I took one for the team. You know what I mean? And that's something that just kind of, in my opinion, goes on to further prove like Rand Carthon and what he's able to do. Because, again, everybody dogged him for the idea, but now, look, it's going to lead to something fruitful for them adding a couple other players.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously looks like, like you said, it's tied to this. So, without knowing exactly like what the ask was before, I mean, is that how you read it? As simple as, okay, when there's a reason here, like, Byard has talked about previous restructures, but those weren't pay cuts, but restructures, like with Clowney and Robert Woods or whoever else it was. So it basically, like, when there's a reason, it's easier to ask this question, I guess. Is that what you would take from
Absolutely. This? Absolutely. It is. That's how I look at it. And one thing you're going to see, though, with a lot of these Titans deals is that, under this team that you got, Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker, you're going to see a lot of incentivized deals. That's one thing that I think is going to become a trademark of this team, and the incentives obviously are going to be ones. I mean, look at DeAndre Hopkins and the ones that he has. It's tied to performance, and they're attainable incentives. You know what I mean? So I'm curious what those are for Byard, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad they were able to get something figured out.
TD, you brought up George Fant and the Titans hosting him for a workout this weekend, and like you said, pretty likely that if all things go well, he signs. What do you make of George Fant at this point in his career, and the idea of the Titans going outside the organization and bringing in somebody else to add to the offensive line?
Yeah, well, one thing that I think any GM would tell you, you can never have enough tackles. So that's something that we're seeing here. And we saw it last year, right, with how the Titans went through it. So I think we add Fant. It's a good addition. If it's something that leads to him becoming a starter for the whole season, hey, it's even better, But I think he will come in and eventually work his way into that starting spot for the 6 games. The thing you got to think about, though, there's 2 things. Obviously, Fant has been a left tackle. He's flipping to the right side. Have to make sure that that's a transition he can make, but also the knees. He's had some issues. He missed a lot of games over the last couple of years, and it's just one of those things where you got to hope that he's able to, not have that reoccur, because knees for offensive linemen in the 30s, it's never a good thing, but if they can manage that and work through it, at least for this one season, I think it gives them a really good option at right tackle, and it keeps them from having to shuffle everything else like we had looked at before.
TD, how do you think kicker is going to play out here in the next few weeks, and how big of a concern is that for a team that I think is probably going to be in some, close, low-scoring games?
Yeah, well, I mean, Caleb Shudak and Trey Wolf, they couldn't be 2 more opposite players. Shudak is a mini-me, and Wolf is kind of like a giant, at 6'3", 200-something pounds. I think they're just going to continue to compete. It's hard to say who's going to win, because they both have made some pretty long kicks that we watched in OTAs and minicamp, but they're going to have to get that thing worked out. I personally, if I was them, I would hope that it could get worked out sooner than later. So whoever is the kicker, you can put them in some pressure situations and see, how they're going to respond in games in preseason.
TD, last thing for you here, back on Hopkins real quick, just from a domino effect standpoint, whether it's Traylon Burks and the matchups he's now going to get, or NWI Chris Moore maybe moving down a rung on the receiving ladder heading into camp. How big a deal, beyond the production of Hopkins himself, how big a deal do you think the acquisition of him is for the rest of this receiving room?
Yeah, I think, it adds confidence to the receiving room, and it gives them someone else to watch. I mean, Traylon Burks has said before, they hold each other accountable each day to elevate their games, etc. Well, you know what? You put someone like that in there, it makes you want to elevate your game even more, because, I mean, this is one of the best in the game. So I think it helps there. And, again, the confidence side of things. Now they don't have to listen to all the nonsense about the worst receiving core, et cetera. That's a thing of the past. But it's still, I think they'll have a chip on their shoulder, and it just adds to the competition, which is the right thing that you want to do. Anytime you could increase the competition on the roster, you want to do it.
Well, TD, we've made it. Training camp is now right around the corner with the Titans. We're almost there, and looking forward to talking to you next week.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans. We'll get more into Kevin Byard, his restructuring of the contract, the DeAndre Hopkins part of this, George Fant, everything on the table. 615-737-1025 on our phone line and our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code ESPN17. Use code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-687-5192. That's 800-687-5192. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-687-5192.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
He's going to continue to be productive. What stands out to you when you watch Hopkins at this stage of his career?
Well, I think the thing is with him is, as you mentioned, he hasn't ever been known as a speed guy. He hasn't ever been known as a guy who, is going to be a downfield burner or anything like that. But he does manage to still make plays down the field because he's a crafty, savvy route runner. And the way that he's able to play as far as understanding positioning and just playing basketball basically on the perimeter, just going up and getting the football, it translates to being able to continue to play into later years. Whereas you look at some of the other receivers or players, period, whose game is based off of speed and things like that, it's a lot harder for them to continue that level of play late into their career. So for me, he still has it. Long story short, that's the best way I could put it. And you look, there's actually I posted something a couple of days ago. It was against the
Rams.
I forget what team it was. The Rams. Yeah, it was against the Rams, and the ball was behind him, and he reached back and snapped it out the air. And on that play, just it not being an interception was a plus. He reached back and caught it, and it was a completion.
That was Teron Davenport on with us in the last segment. Appreciate him taking time to be with us as he does each and every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, helping home buyers and sellers in Middle Tennessee for 20 years. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook, live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. If you missed it, Ian Rappaport putting this out there earlier. Quote, the Titans and Pro Bowl safety Kevin Byard have agreed to terms on a restructured contract for the 2023 season. His base salary is now $11 million, and there are incentives available to get back to the $14 million he was originally owed. This from Ian Rappaport a little bit earlier from NFL Network. Now, we've talked about that, Joe. Rappaport uses the term restructured contract. It kind of, to me, just kind of sounds like a pay cut with incentives with the opportunity to get it back to the $14 million that was originally owed that would not count against the Titans against the cap at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a pay cut by how I define it. So based on that information provided by Ian Rappaport. So again, I think it's a lot easier to, and as we've discussed earlier and then with TD again too, without having the information about exactly what was asked previously, I think it's a lot easier to ask anything if it's like, look where we are and look what this guy or maybe this guy and this guy could do for us.
Right.
Now, again, previously, Byard, it's not like you're making some huge sacrifice, really, when you get your deal restructured. So that was a restructure. This looks like an actual cut, but what are the incentives? And an interesting point by TD as well in terms of like this front office maybe being more into incentives or escalators, as I now call them. A lot of agents and players don't like that, by the way. So it's not like, most people like to here, what's my salary? Stuff happens in this sport, and the guaranteed money is guaranteed money. I do think that in some instances it just makes sense, and but a lot of times that goes with like older players, or just participation is more of a question in their careers.
Well, I think on the Hopkins front, for sure, the incentives made a lot of sense for him, right? Because you're coming off the being cut by Arizona and the injury stuff that we've talked about on the other side of 30. I mean, I think we knew the whole time the incentives deal was going to be probably a part of things with DeAndre Hopkins. It is going to be interesting, like moving forward, though, if that's the strategy, or I guess more often the strategy that Rand Carthon and the Titans take, what does that look like around the league? Because to your point, Joe, and it makes sense from an agent standpoint, agents probably don't like that a whole lot when you're throwing out incentive-laden contracts all over the place.
Yeah. No, for sure. Football and other F words, by the way. I'm just seeing this tweet. So, basically what we were just saying too, it's like, this is not a restructure. It's a renegotiation.
Right.
And it's a pay cut, so don't let, he says in this tweet, don't let Ian using what the agent told him to use confuse you. Yes. This happens sometimes with the Bobbsey twins, Ian and Adam.
It does. So it sounds like a straight up pay cut that he's taking there. And then, TD did bring up the other part of this. I mean, there's the George Fant part of it too, that they're hosting him for a workout this weekend. I would assume, unless it's just a disaster or the physical doesn't work out or whatever it would be, that he's probably going to be signed and he'll be in camp for the Titans starting next week. So I think at that point, as long as he remains healthy, he's probably your starting right tackle for the first 6 games. But there's the Hopkins money officially coming in, which, by the way, DeAndre Hopkins made things official yesterday, at least from his standpoint. We'll see when the Titans do that. And then there's the George Fant part of this. And we said this yesterday. I don't anticipate George Fant making a ton of money if he signs with the Titans. But you are talking about an offensive lineman that is probably going to come in to be a starting right tackle for you for 6 games. And the other part of that, Joe, that we talked about with Jim Wyatt and we talked about a little bit yesterday, if they go that route and he's on the roster on week 1, his salary is guaranteed for the year.
Yeah, and look, I feel like if he's sound and they feel good about his health, and man, I guess it's football, right? But you got to be a little bit nervous. You're a Titans fan about all these different transactions revolving around people who have injury history. But it's football. But if he is sound, I think it's an important add, one just to have more depth at that position. If Jamarco Jones is just going to be, if Jamarco Jones is just the next Kendall Lamb, which is just like, oh, not at all what they thought he was, and that may be the case. And of course, he's had, injuries were the main story with him last year. Then I think you need another tackle. You don't know when Dylan Radins is coming back, or even if he does, when he does, what that even means. So I think this could be a really important add for them. Not as important as Hopkins, but pretty important. I do want to go to Jake and Greenbrier real quick, and kind of going back to what TD said. But Jake says, I was told by a certain personality who comes out at 2 p.m. that Rand was an idiot for approaching KB about a cut/restructure. First of all, I don't know if Jared used the term idiot, but I'll go ahead and I'll push back a little bit on what TD said. If it was personal insults to Rand Carthon or like that, well, that's silly. But I still like the in a vacuum asking him for a pay cut, considering how important he is. I still disagree with that. And even though we're where we are now, let's all remember what all happened as a result of that. Byard was very unhappy.
Yep.
I don't know that he was unhappy to the point of a certain person coming out at 2 p.m. saying he, demanded to be traded, or exactly how he phrased that, which Rand Carthon has dunked on every chance he's gotten. But he was unhappy. So I do still look at that as, again, there's that, and now there's this when there's an outcome that can help the team because you did it. Good for him for getting him to do it, right?
Sure.
And good for Byard for, Byard is a team guy. Byard is, there are a lot of people who wouldn't do this. But I don't think this completely changes what happened back then.
I don't think it does either. I agree with what you said. When you give a player a reason to do it, then it becomes a lot more palatable at that point. Like in a vacuum, asking somebody like Kevin Byard, just, hey, you're making too much money, you need to take a pay cut. I think it was really short-sighted on the part of Rand Carthon and the Titans to do that. When you get to this point, and there's now a reason associated with it, and you're making room for DeAndre Hopkins coming in that could really help you win, it could be a big factor for you this year, then I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing, Joe, which is Kevin Byard with more of an appetite to have that conversation rather than just in a vacuum. Yeah, just we're gonna ask you to take a pay cut, please. Be great, Kevin Byard, all pro.
Right. Yeah. And I do look at this, and someone asked something to this effect earlier on the text line, but I guess it was like, it's just like an unwritten, extension or whatever. I don't know about that, but I do think for Kevin Byard, it's not exactly like Derrick Henry, but like Derrick Henry fits here perfectly. Derrick Henry, this is his best place. There are other teams who would gladly take him on for a very low number, but he wouldn't get a ton of work. And, it's just this place, he's central to what they do. It has been great for both sides. Byard would be a great safety anywhere, but I do think that there's something to the idea of, having a good back and forth, good relationship, and maybe extending his career and having an opportunity to actually retire here. So I don't know if that has anything to do with this or not. But when you look at the big picture, if you're on Kevin Byard's side, I could see you thinking along those lines.
The Game Summer Ticket Tour is headed to Bringle's Smoking Oasis, located at 4901 Centennial Boulevard. Today from 2 to 6, come eat, drink, hang, and leave with a pair of free Sounds, Preds, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, or concert tickets. Also get signed up for your chance to win the grand prize, which is Titans tickets, Preds tickets in the 501 Club, and a 2-night stay at Opryland Hotel with access to Soundwaves. Black Tie Moving delivers the Game Summer Ticket Tour. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/tour. Coming up next, we'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans. We will also get into the Tennessee Vols, and I'll throw out the question that we threw out a little bit earlier in the show. How important is this season for Tennessee in terms of building on what they did last year and proving that season wasn't just a flash in the pan? We'll get into that as well. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hopkins, touchdown. The Tennessee Tennessee Titans have signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
They needed somebody that they could count on.
Even with DeAndre Hopkins in the receiver room, they're not very deep.
What can the talented wideout bring to the team?
It alleviates pressure from Traylon Burks, forces defenses to pay attention.
He and Mike Vrabel have a very good relationship.
The receiving group has a chance to actually be pretty good.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? Research shows consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in, sell it to We Buy Any Car. Get your free online valuation now at
We Buy Any Car.
Research published in the Journal of Industrial Economics December 2015 showed buyers with a trade-in pay an average of $990 more than those who do not trade in their used cars.
We pride ourselves on being transparent, opening up the books, and sharing all the secrets of the diamond industry. We have a passion for this, and part of having a passion is sharing that passion.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper says, at Genesis, you don't just get an entry-level course in diamonds, you get a PhD.
We love educating our customers, even over-educating our customers about diamonds and gemstones, so they can truly see the difference in what we offer.
At Genesis, diamonds are not a side business. It's their only business.
We eat, breathe, and sleep diamonds.
So whether you end up buying at Genesis or not, come for the education.
The better educated we can make you at Genesis Diamonds, the better a shopper you're going to be, whether you shop with us or anyone else. You will be able to tell the difference and know what you are buying, so you make the best decision for you.
Genesis Diamonds, proud to offer one of the largest selections of GIA certified diamonds in the nation, with no middleman markups, no retail pricing games, no commission salespeople, and no nonsense. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
Sometimes it's good to be loud.
This is the NFL.
Especially when you're Jared Stillman.
That's where we are.
He's not afraid to say what's on his mind each and every day.
That was embarrassing. I don't care if you're a rookie. That was embarrassing.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Gary Bettman. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. I got a pair of tickets to give away to see Gypsy Kings at TPAC Jackson Hall coming up on November the 4th. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Caller number 3 will win a pair of tickets to see Gypsy Kings at TPAC's Jackson Hall coming up on November 4th, 615-737-1025. We are taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. David on the Kevin Byard front says, is it possible they make the incentives extremely easy to accomplish? It's a good way to work around the cap. This from David on the text line. There is a certain baseline of what the incentives have to be to not work against the cap. Is that not correct, Joe Rexrode?
Yeah, I believe so. I cannot tell you the specifics on that, but no, I'm very interested to see what they are too. Did Jared say earlier he thinks they'll be impossible to achieve, or did I hear that wrong? He said so many things
The
today.
phrase that he used was not likely to be earned. They have to be labeled as not likely to be earned.
NLBE.
Yes. Apparently likely to be earned incentives count against the fake cap. His words.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah, so that those. I mean, I'm still interested also to find out like the details of the Hopkins contract. By the way.
Yeah, me too. Really interested to see what that looks like as well. So we'll take more of your thoughts on that on our text line 615-737-1025. Joe, you were following Joe Milton around SEC Media Days yesterday. Lots of conversation about how far he could throw a football. We talked about that a few minutes ago. I am very intrigued by him. I'm very intrigued by this team in general this year. And I heard some of this conversation on the SEC Network yesterday, and a lot of people have kind of talked about this week. But the idea of the importance of this Tennessee team following up on what they did last year. We all know Hendon Hooker was a special player. He threw 5 interceptions in 2 years at Tennessee. He was unbelievable in what he was able to accomplish. Tennessee wins 11 games last year. They go 11-2 with the Orange Bowl win. And now high expectations heading into this year. I think most people are going to have them when the results come out later today. Probably is the second favorite team in the SEC East behind Georgia. And the question that's been thrown out there is, okay, if Tennessee follows it up this year and they win 10 games or they win 11 games and they're right there in the mix again, what sort of a message does that send about Josh Heupel, the program that he's building, and the sustainability of it? And conversely, if maybe they're not in the mix this year and they're 7-5, 8-4, and they take a step back, was last year just kind of a one-time thing with a season that they were able to have with a special quarterback and Hendon Hooker and all those things? How do you view, I guess, the importance level of this season for Tennessee from that perspective, Joe, as we get things kicked off here in just a little over a month? Have we lost Rexrode? I think Rexrode has pulled a new one and has unplugged his microphone for the first time ever. So it's not really a mute, I would say, just more of an unplugging of the microphone. Do we have Joe? No, not yet. We'll let Joe get his microphone plugged back in there. So, again, the question for you as Tennessee fans.
Oh, my God.
He's back. There we go. Question for Tennessee fans is, how important is this year based on following up last year's magical season of 11-2? Joe, welcome back.
That was a nightmare. My gosh. There's a new one. The mic. How the heck did that even happen? I had a really good point to make, too. This got me all flustered. So here's the thing with Tennessee. First of all, you know how I think college football more than any other sport. It's college sports, but college football, like one season. I mean, again, Nick Saban has and it's like, as the dynasty ending? I don't know, folks. I mean, Ole Miss beat them. You know, I love Pat Forty. Got to see him. We should have tried to get Pat Forty on here to see how many Vols fans would get upset.
I'd really like
this
that.
week. But I mean, I remember the column he wrote, like when Hugh Freeze and Ole Miss beat Saban, whatever year that was, and it was are we starting to see the cracks in the foundation? Again, I say this because I've written columns like this too. Go check my column when Josh Heupel was hired. Some really good takes.
Oh yeah.
But in this sport, it is so everything applies to the big picture, right? So to your point, I mean, yeah, it's important. I mean, narratives do matter in this sport. Narratives have something to do with recruiting. Even in NIL and everything like that, there's still people still gravitate. I don't think Georgia and Alabama, I don't think their NIL or anything is like better than Tennessee's. But they are Georgia and Alabama, and so they still have that momentum. People still want to go where they think, you know, you can win championships and go where they think you're best developed for the NFL. So this season's very important for Tennessee. If it doesn't go as well as planned, I do then ask the question, okay, why? Because it could end up being that Joe Milton isn't good enough, and Joe Milton is just a step down from Hendon Hooker. Look, he's going to be a step down from Hendon Hooker to some extent, right? If not, wow, make way for the parade.
Yeah.
I mean, Hendon Hooker was
I think at least from a
absurd.
turnover standpoint, he's almost got to be a step down.
Yeah, and I mean, just Hendon Hooker was unbelievable. He was going to win the Heisman until Georgia punched Tennessee in the mouth. But if it turns out, Joe Milton is he's this tantalizing talent, but he can't quite put together or can't quite stay healthy for a whole season, and then they go 7-5 or 8-4. I mean, it's not, it's no death knell. I don't think it's going to derail what they want to do. But if they can, stack in there a 9 or 10. Look, if they go 9-3, there's some Vols fans right now who are so excited about the season who are going to be disappointed. I'm here to tell them you should take 9-3 if you get 9-3. It's still a pretty darn good year, But this is where things have gone with the hype. And if they can go better than 9-3, then I think it's more like you have more to gain from doing that than you have to lose if you step back a little bit, because you have the 5-star QB coming in, and all accounts on Nico people love him in the building. I mean, he's embracing kind of just learning this year under Joe Milton. I understand if Milton throws a pick in the second quarter against Virginia, then half of all Twitter is going to be screaming for Nico to come in, but it's not going to happen.
Well, we're going to see him one of these first 4 weeks.
Oh, for sure. He'll get some action. Yeah, he'll get some action. But yeah, exactly. He'll get. That's funny too. You say that. Yeah, that's probably the smart thing to do to redshirt him. Although, I think right now the expectation is there's 3 years for him in Knoxville. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to end up being that good, but I think he's going to be good. And they're set up to have more success down the line, and they're set up to be right there next year when that 12-team playoff starts, to be a team that has a legit reason to believe they should be in it. So this season's not going to change that.
I would agree with that. Now, I will say I do think it's important from the standpoint of how much of last year was Hendon Hooker. I think that's what a lot of people really want to know. How much of last year's success was just the fact that Hendon Hooker, to your point, was the Heisman favorite heading into the Georgia game, and how much of it is Josh Heupel's a really good coach. This offense is really, really good, and it's hard to stop no matter who's running it, and that Tennessee's getting better. Look, Tennessee's getting better. There's no question about that. I think Josh Heupel and the things that they do offensively, number one's a lot of fun, and number two is really effective. So I think this offense this year is going to be good. Are they going to be anywhere close to the number one offense in the country like they were a year ago? So I do think it's important as they move forward here, how much of their success from last year was Josh Heupel kind of taking the reins of this program and really running with it, and how much of it was they unlocked Hendon Hooker to be a great, great player, and he carried them through a lot of those games last year. I don't know what the answer to that is, but if you're a Tennessee fan, you're probably hoping deep down that you love Hendon Hooker. He was a great player. He'll always be remembered for his time at Tennessee, but that last year was more of a commentary on Josh Heupel and everything going on around Hendon Hooker than it was just specifically Hendon Hooker.
Right. And to invoke a point Jared made earlier that I actually thought was good, then you go to the okay. So then let's remember what Hendon Hooker was at Virginia Tech. He's basically discarded. Now he did have injury stuff there and things like that, but then he becomes this. So how much of that is credit to what Heupel does with quarterbacks? I mean, I think there's both things are true. I mean, I think that clearly Heupel's strength is developing quarterbacks and running this offense. He reimagined, redefined his career basically, and he's had awfully good success with quarterbacks. Doesn't mean he's going to be at 100%, but I think a lot of Hooker's success can be traced to that. But I also think there were some times where everybody's just standing there last year where they're playing Alabama, and it's like, man, is this kid going to make another ridiculous play or not? You know, and he was special. And this program is going to be very quarterback dependent, and it's the strength of the program, but you're still going to have some ups and downs in there.
There's one text from an unnamed texter that we'll get to next that I just don't think that I agree with. And we'll take your thoughts on the Vols and more coming up next. 615-737-1025. All that coming up. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode. It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stomach Company.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never abandons its commitment to free expression. Because FIRE believes that free speech makes free people. Join the free speech movement at thefire.org. Paid for by thefire.org.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Today's world is filled with many things that can push any of us to our limit. An upcoming move should not add to that list. When you choose Black Tie Moving, you are going to get a highly awarded Inc. 500 company. From the free estimate by a local professional moving consultant to the red carpet treatment you receive on the day of your move, their trained and dedicated team is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the process. Call 844-920-2966. Then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See? We didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Hi, we're Comparion Insurance Agency. Right now you're thinking, Comparion, never heard of them. We know. We also know that you have no idea that Comparion Insurance agents are local and provide expert advice. So to help it stick, we're going to say local agent 4 times in the next 15 seconds. Ready? Go. Our local agents know you and your community. Our local agents offer insurance from top carriers. Our local agents have minty fresh breath.
Find us at ComparionInsurance.com. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents, expert advice.
And there's number 4.
The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is back in Nashville August 4th through 6th and is a must-see experience that has something for everyone to enjoy. 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan has all your coverage leading to the race, including driver interviews with Chase McCabe, ticket giveaways, and much more.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe, there's a text that I'm not sure that I agree with. That an unnamed texter says, a good year with Milton will be 8-4. Any expectation of more than that is silly. And I'm not saying that Tennessee won't go 8-4 because I think 8-4 is within the realm of possibility this year for Tennessee when you look at their schedule. However, I look at their schedule, Joe, and I say purely from a talent standpoint. I think there are 2 teams that are clearly better than Tennessee on their schedule, and I think there are 3 teams that are probably more talented than Tennessee on their schedule. Alabama and Georgia, I think, are better teams than Tennessee are. I think Texas A&M is more talented than Tennessee is. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better, and we saw that a year ago. but I think they're more talented than Tennessee is. Other than that, like Tennessee, I think, has more talent than Kentucky does. Tennessee has more talent than South Carolina does. Certainly Vanderbilt and Missouri. You can get into that part of the conversation. So I don't know that I buy that any expectation of anything beyond 8-4 is silly with Joe Milton at quarterback. I'm not saying they won't go 8-4, but I do think it's fair to have higher expectations than 8-4 for Tennessee this year.
Right. And 2 of those 3 games are at home, by the way.
That is true.
Doesn't mean that much all the time, but it could mean something. No, the big thing there is it's certainly not a good year. Yeah, you can think they're going to go 6-6 or whatever. If they go 8-4, no one is going to say, "Hey, good year under Joe Milton." I mean, that's a good year to me would be 9-3. 8-4 would be a disappointment because it means you're losing a game somewhere in there that you definitely were favored to win. At Florida, not saying that's not going to be tricky. I don't think Florida's very good, but it's at Florida.
They need to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, there's opportunities for them to lose, but it would not be deemed good if they do. So now that may be also like a Vanderbilt or Kentucky fan just, ripping on Tennessee too. I don't know, but that they should aspire to be 12-0. A optimistic Vols fan should hope for 10-2.
Right. I mean, we've talked about it. The Texas A&M game is really interesting to me. It's at Neyland Stadium. I don't know what Texas A&M is going to be this year. They got Bobby Petrino coming in, calling plays. There is a lot of talent there, as I said. I think they're a more talented team than Tennessee is. But, they weren't very good last year. So what's that going to look like? And by the time they roll into Knoxville, Joe, is everything around Texas A&M feeling a whole lot better, or is it crashing down around Jimbo by the time that they get in? I mean, they're relatively early in the season when they come into Knoxville this year, but Texas A&M, they got to play at Miami early. What's that going to look like for them when they go to Miami? They have Auburn, Arkansas, Alabama. The week before they come to Tennessee is the Alabama game. So what does Texas A&M look like? Can they get through Auburn, Arkansas, Alabama relatively unscathed, or is the heat around Jimbo Fisher going to be so much heading into that game in Neyland where they just collapse? I have no idea.
So they have Alabama the week before and Tennessee's off, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, that works out pretty well for the Vols. Hey, by the way, Cameron, that was Cameron. I know that a lot of people put their names on their contact in this text line, so you could just do that. Some people just sign their name over and over again, but you could. Yeah. So, you can do that?
Yeah.
Wow. Look at your technological savvy.
There we go.
Hey, real quick, I do have some information to flesh out the Byard thing. Likely to be earned is for incentive. That's something that the player did the year before.
Okay.
And that means that it would count in the current year. And then unlikely is anything in the incentives that was not accomplished that would count the next year's cap.
Okay.
The cap that exists.
Yes.
The cap. So for Byard, a likely would be 17 games. He did that last year, so that would be an incentive that would be a likely and would be a this year cap, for example. Not knowing what he got, but that's the distinction.
I mean, he had 4 picks last year, so maybe it's you get 5 picks, man. Come on back in there.
And that's an unlikely.
That's unlikely. I like that.
And so there you go.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times on that front. Joe, we're just a few days away from training camp getting started. It's already started in some places around the league. They've been showing video nonstop on ESPN this morning of Aaron Rodgers throwing footballs to stationary targets in training camp at New York Jets camp that's already been open. So the football wave is beginning. How excited? You more excited about SEC Media Days that just wrapped up or training camp heading into it, which is a little bit longer?
Well, I get legit. I mean, I know you're asking that facetiously because I hate SEC Media Days, but I do get excited about early. I get excited about camp, basically camp until the first preseason game. Okay. So there's a lot of information there. You know, you got some position battles, you got some young players, you get to see a lot more actual football-looking football than you did in the spring.
Yep.
And then that first preseason game. Now, look, I do think that the Titans, I mean, the preseason games, the kicker thing is big, the backup quarterback thing is big. There's a lot of interesting aspects of it. Don't know in the trenches how much Vrabel is going to risk certain guys, but like that first preseason game, I'm really excited about that and some of the things we're going to learn. So from next week until then, heck yes, excitement. And then it's like August 11th, and you're like, there's another month until freaking football. But the good thing about that is you're only about 2 weeks from college football at that point. So for the most part, life is good.
Well, and I will say, at least from the Titans side of things, this year, kind of for 2 years in a row, but I think even more so this year, preseason football could actually be entertaining a little bit, just based on the quarterback situation. So I'm thankful for Malik Willis and Will Levis.
Yeah, because and Mike Vrabel's far from alone. This is where things are going. But Mike Vrabel does not like using important people in preseason games. But
I don't blame him.
Those quarterbacks are going to battle it out, and there's nothing like – and the kickers. You know, to TD's point, I mean, I think he's right. Like, if you had a clear number one, it'd be good. Then you give him all those reps and pressure. But, like, in the first game, I mean, I would anticipate both of them getting opportunity to try to make kicks under pressure in an actual game situation. And those reps are they just mean more, to invoke the SEC, than these practice competitions with, 20 reporters standing around in the team watching. I mean, that's different when you're in a stadium in a game situation. So the kicker and quarterback thing alone, I think will make the preseason games worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, the kicker, nobody really talks about it heading into it, but it is going to be pretty interesting because, to your point, number one, they're going to be in a lot of close games. My question is, like, what happens if they get through, halfway through camp and they look around and they say, I just don't know about either one of these guys. Like, I'm looking at kickers who are available. Mason Crosby is out there. He's probably retired, would be my guess. Ryan Suckup is out there, so I guess you could go back down that road. Robbie Gould, Randy Bullock still out there. Zane Gonzalez, Brett Maher. I mean, not a ton of great options at this point in their career are still out there.
No, but I certainly won't rule out something like that again. It would be very disappointing if they don't feel like they've found the next guy. They need the next long-term guy. But I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you can be consistent in practice, but if you go out there and you see like a shank or two in a preseason game, how much does that worry you?
Yeah, I mean, it should
how
worry you a lot.
How much pause does that give you? That's always an interesting kind of question, is like how you balance those two things against each other. Every single day you're seeing a guy's mechanics and you're seeing him on the practice field and you have a feel for what he is, but still, how much does the exam of an actual game situation count?
We're going to find out next week, beginning training camp for the Tennessee Titans. That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. The Chase McCabe Show up next. This is 102.5, 106.3, The Game.